What is up, fanboys and fangirls? Welcome to a special video edition of the Review Point, coming to you from, of course, fanboysanonymous.com. You know me, as usual, I'm your host, Tony Mango, and with me is my wife, my beautiful wife.
Me! Caroline.
My beautiful wife, me. Yes, that is you. Creepy_Caroline. Follow her underneath there. Yeah, so we just got done seeing the Batman, and Caroline actually suggested, she's like, you want to do a podcast? You want to do a video podcast? And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to turn down the opportunity of talking about the movie with my wife and getting you guys to see how beautiful she is and everything. And on top of that, you know, run down the movie the way that we normally do after we go see the movies and, you know, do it where you guys can hear us and stuff instead of us just talking on the way back home and, you know, running through all those opinions already. So that's what we're going to be doing here. The same usual thing. The review point, of course, we talk about the hits and the misses, the good and the bad. There's good and bad on this one. And we're going to give you a spoiler-free review at the first part here. And then eventually we will give you a little bit of a warning for anybody who, you know, doesn't want to get the spoilers and everything. I should actually have some kind of a thing on here, but I didn't bother to do that ahead of time. So I guess maybe I will do something like this. I'll put that on there. And, you know, when we're done with the spoiler thing or something, I don't know.
We can do a little dance. Like, spoiler dance.
That's how the spoiler dance goes?
It is now.
That's the spoiler dance, yeah. Well, we'll do that, and then, you know, I'll do this too, so it'll be like mood kind of thing or something. That we can have maybe the lights go off.
But also we should say that, like, we haven't talked about the movie at all.
No.
So I don't know his thoughts yet. He doesn't know mine. We made a point to just, like, not, which is really hard. We actually, like, walked home in silence just to avoid discussing it, so...
Yeah, the only thing that we talked about was somebody, which we won't spoil what the character is, but somebody at one point referencing a character and that you overheard them go, it's completely different.
We'll get to
but,
that.
well, yeah, we'll get to that. That's the one and only thing that we talked about really about this. So, of course, as per usual, we want to know what you have to say as well. So drop a comment below. Underneath here, I can actually visually say that. And, you know, tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, and everything else like that. That goes along with the usual stuff here, as well as just doing your usual YouTube stuff that everybody knows about by now. Smash that like button. I hate that stupid phrase. Hit the like button. Click on it. Hit the little email alert thing as well. Get your notifications of when videos go live. I would love to be doing live content on here on Fanboys. I do that for Smart Out Moment, so I'd love to do that for that. And there's a little thanks button if you want to toss a little spare change our way, which, you know, helps out a little bit and it helps this channel grow. Same thing for the Patreon, patreon.com/Fanboys Anonymous, because everything's not Fanboys Anonymous except for the Twitter, because the Twitter thing is, you know, they won't fit it in a certain amount of characters, but you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. That'd be great. And of course, if you are more interested in the YouTube members only thing, it's the exact same thing as the Patreon. So if you would rather do that, then do that. Still has the access to the bonus features, still has to pick your poison where, you know, if you're like, oh man, I really do want to see more content of XYZ, you get to request it. That's the whole thing. You're sponsoring it directly. So, you know, if you are sick and tired of hearing Rob and I talk about how we need to do Mount Rushmores, and you want Callum to get on that thing and say, you know, the Mount Rushmore of Disney themes that he was talking about recently and getting super passionate about, which was kind of strange. But, you know, I mean, if you want that.
If you want me to interview Callum, which I've been trying to do, he's such a mysterious figure. You know?
If you want to just see our faces more, we could do more of that kind of stuff. If you want to have a little bit of a test run of the idea that we have in mind called A Couple Movies. Maybe. I don't know. I got the domains at least. So, you know, usual stuff. Go through, do that. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't like. Same thing about this. If you like this, hit the like button, because the like button helps out quite a bit. So outside of that, I guess let's get started with the spoiler-free section of it. So don't worry about the spoiler side. If you didn't go see the movie, you can still check this part out until you start seeing the spoiler dance or whatever it is that we're doing here.
Forget our.
Yeah. You're the choreographer and you already forgot.
Yeah.
You'll make up a new one on the spot. Spoiler free. So generally speaking then, yay or nay? Hit or miss?
Yay.
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 Not as enthusiastic of a yay as I was hoping, I would say.
And I would say I was ready for a mess.
Really?
I was. So I was tired, I was grumpy, and I had like an awful day. So it was like,
I can attest to this.
yeah, like it was an awful day. And I'm like, oh my God, this movie's 3 hours long. And I even told him, like, I might take a nap. If this is boring, I might take a nap because I can sleep like this.
She does.
And have like full on dreams and everything. So I will say, if you say you're not enthusiastic, yay, I will say a surprised yay.
I guess the best way for me to put it is, obviously I'm a Batman snob. I didn't even wear this shirt when we went there. I'm wearing a Nightwing shirt because Nightwing's fucking awesome. But I put it on specifically for this, even though you can't even see it. It's kind of pointless. But no, I mean, I've been a Batman fan since I was, God knows, I mean, probably practically out of the womb, I would assume. And I have 100 Batman stories that I'm kind of writing and everything. Literally, I think it's 100 because I couldn't condense even more, and I have like 125, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I could fit that 25 in there. But I am super particular about Batman in a lot of ways, where sometimes one little line of dialogue can just be like, I don't think Batman would say that and stuff. And, so I have my nitpicks, which we'll get into. But generally speaking, what was disappointing to me about the movie was, over the past couple weeks or so, I've been hearing so much buzz about how this is amazing and it's critically acclaimed and it's an artisan film and this is revolutionary and it's changing the way that you look at Batman and everything. And it's just like fundamentally, oh my God, we were all just going nuts over this. And I'm like, yeah, it's good. But it's not this groundbreaking, amazing way. It's like, yeah, it's a good Batman movie. And I want to see another one, and I want to see a third one, and I want to see where they're going. And I loved a lot of little aspects, and there are like some minor parts that I didn't like, but very few things that I actually didn't like about it, except just that overwhelming, like, okay, but it wasn't a 12 out of 10 like people are acting. And I mean, you give an 8 out of 10, it's an amazing score, but that kind of made me go like, okay, well, I'm a little bit underwhelmed then if you hype it up that much, Kind of the opposite of what happened with something like, say, like Endgame. Because Endgame was like, everybody's building it up, it's the most amazing thing or whatever. And then by the end of the movie, I'm like, all right, I feel like 10 years worth of investment paid off. It took fucking forever to get this movie. And it went under, it was supposed to be Ben Affleck doing the movie, and it was going to be this Deathstroke film, and it was going to be, this big change. And I've been tracking this movie since Batman v Superman came out. So it took like 5-6 years or something to get this. And I'm like, okay, this was a good episode of the animated series. Kind of. When's the next one? Like, I kind of just want another one already because it's been so long. So the nitpicks that I'm going to say, I'm sure there's going to be people that are like, oh, why are you even nitpicking that? And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't break the movie. But I'm going to talk about the misses too, I'll talk about specifically a character that should have had a little bit of a mustache and maybe not have had hair. But like, like little things like that. Like, But that's because I'm a Batman snob. By no means are you going to get the same reaction that you got out of the Eternals. Because if you would have seen our reaction when we were watching the Eternals, that is the one movie out of the MCU and even out of the DC kind of stuff that's been happening over the past however many years that it was just like, this is shit. And
he still owes me watching 3 horror movies with me because he made me sit through that.
I think we're down to like 1.
When? No, we'll talk about this later. Lies. Do not deceive your audience.
Drop a comment and support me in this endeavor. So without getting too deep into the spoilers and stuff like that, we are, we're positive on this. This is on the hit side, not the miss side, not even in like the middle round. Like we're definitely 2 thumbs up if we were Siskel and Ebert. I don't know who would be who. I think you would be Siskel. I would be Ebert because I'm rounder. But the biggest takeaway what would you say? If there's like one thing that somebody goes, tell me about the Batman, and you were going to say either like a really positive or really negative, or just like a really, this was a funny part, or like, without obviously spoiler side, but.
I think that the biggest thing for me, and I just want to say, I'm not a Batman snob.
You're a fan, but not a snob.
I like Batman a lot. It's my favorite superhero. But I would say I am a movie snob and a cinema study snob. So I'm going to be like probably looking at certain things that to me spoke more. And I'm also like an artist. So sometimes like.
Oops, wrong side.
Wrong side.
There you go. That thing. The painting back there, I can't point.
It's okay. I can't either. So like certain things that maybe weren't, something that you liked or that spoke to you. Yeah, like it really spoke to me. So for me, the biggest takeaway of this movie was just the mood of it. I love the mood that Blade Runner created for movies. That's the famous Blade Runner look, which means dystopic, greedy, dirty, urban environment with lots of rain and lots of like darks and some. If you have a little bit of light, you either have a little bit of light during a scene, or you have that very like intense contrast between the darks and the brights, and that's a noir film. Lots of darks. Everything's it's dark, and I love that. I love the rain. I love the feel. To me, that felt like how I see Gotham, and I always have. To me, that's what I think of. Like it's very similar to if you play the Batman games.
Yeah, the Arkham.
You have that feeling of Arkham City, Arkham Asylum, which were the only two I played. Oh, I played Batman Lego, but it's like totally different.
That would be really jarring.
Very
if like
different.
Midway through, you've just got some scene where like Robert Pattinson's just all brooding, and then you've got, well, you haven't seen Lego Batman movie yet, but that movie's amazing too.
Hey, let me finish my point. So I love that. To me, like it felt like if I was using synesthesia, which I always like, it smelled like Gotham, like gritty, dark, and rainy, and that goes with the music as well. Like I really enjoyed how that universe was created and how it was shown visually.
See, I was thinking you were going to bring up the music because there were multiple times that you were kind of like tapping your foot or like, tapping me, just like kind of like, the bum, bum, bum.
I love it. I absolutely love, so our taste in music is, we have like, maybe like a middle ground.
The Weeknd.
The Weeknd.
The middle ground.
But when it comes to soundtracks, I think he tends to go for the more like epic, not necessarily loud, but more like that orchestra power that creates that like immersive universe.
Not really.
I feel like you do.
Because there's a lot of stuff on my music that's very low key, and it's just like maybe like one instrument or something. Like I love, for instance, if we're talking about older Batman movies, I love that Hans Zimmer's score for the Joker was just that the whole time, like that.
Well, you're also a Hans Zimmer bitch.
Yeah, because he's fucking great.
He is.
He's got like 3 notes that he does and everything, and that's it. But that kind of feel, I think that really fit with that. And in the same regard, I mean, this one works with this. But if we're going into the music side of things, one thing that I do had like cross-pollination of what you're saying and what I'm saying, not necessarily, and all that. One thing I really appreciate with, in particular, superhero movies and like genre films like Star Wars and all that is if it's got something that I can hum. And it's the same with a lot of other music. I'm very melodic. Like, I don't care as much about the lyrics about something, because there's plenty of songs that some of my favorite songs, I have no idea what the hell the lyrics are, because like Basement Threes, every time I say, I still don't know what the lyrics are. Nobody on the internet knows, because if you look that up, it's posts from me asking what the hell are the lyrics, and it's like a German band or something from like 1993. So nobody knows the lyrics for that, and I'm just like, da, 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 this is catchy, and I love it. But nothing so far has topped Danny Elfman's theme for me for Batman. So if I'm thinking Batman, I'm thinking either the animated series, or I'm thinking that, where in my mind, if I see Batman, I hear da 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 da, or that like the other version of the animated series theme from Bruce Timm's animated series. There's been like 8 Batman series, but even the other one, the Batman series, pretty good theme too. First one, not the second one, just to specify. But like this, I did get a little bit annoyed after a while of just a couple scenes. I'm hearing bum 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 bum.
I love it. It's so effective.
I think if it turned into something, and that was just in like the background for different parts, it was good. For like instance, you've seen it in the trailer, so we're not spoiling anything. But when the car flips over, Penguin's looking out and Batman's upside down, which is cool because it's like, you know, bats hang upside down, and that he's walking and it's, you know, it's upside down, like ominous kind of thing. This is my impression of Batman walking. He's just doot doot. That is a good like, oh fuck, the Batman's gonna get me. That's bum 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 bum, kind of like you are going to get screwed kind of thing. But when it's more of like a big sweeping action scene, and that's the only thing that's playing, my adrenaline doesn't go anywhere else. It's still just kind of hitting that same note. Whereas I want that part of, okay, the Avengers theme kicked in, and then that's like, okay, the fucking shield goes to Cap, and everybody goes, fuck, I'm a nerd. You know, like that kind of thing.
See, like you want it to be bigger, like the music,
but not necessarily like the orchestra.
I disagree with that, though. I disagree with that because I feel that it kind of made me feel. It made me think of 2 movies, which I mean, it's not like they sound the same, but he has that same feeling, which is Jaws. Again, horror. Jaws, very effective soundtrack. It has, you know, the beginning. Dun-dum. And that creates the idea of, oh, we're gonna feel tense, right? Like, even it does build up eventually, but that beginning is just, if you just say those like first notes, people know what you're talking about.
It's a shame that there's the other part where it just goes bong 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 doo 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 doo, and then you're like, oh wait, this shark is like very dainty for a split second.
Like it. I still like it. You have to look at the movie for the era it was created, sir. Okay. And Psycho. That was the other one. And with Psycho, it's, if you break down the intro music of Psycho, it's just a string song. And it was created because that way, to almost like evoke that imagery of a knife, like something cutting. So for me with this, I'm watching this movie and I know it's going to be a noir version of Batman. The way the music was, that kind of like kept the same notes that drove him crazy. And it had that feeling of like steps. And that's like ongoing in the movie. Like sometimes you don't, and most of the time, I guess when Batman enters the scene being Batman, not Bruce Wayne, you hear his footsteps and you just see darkness. And I think that goes really well with it. And I also feel like the way the song is created, it makes me feel like in my head, I'm just like jumping from like different levels of darkness, but it's all dark. And that goes so well with the noir mood and atmosphere of this movie. That's why I really liked it. I thought it was like very effective. And I think, I have a feeling that this is where we're going to disagree a lot, because you're seeing, as a Batman fan, you are, you know, seeing this film as maybe like you're comparing to all the other ones
Right.
and everything that you've seen.
And my ideal.
And your
of
idea.
what it's-
And
yeah.
that's why, like, he doesn't watch music videos even. Like, he doesn't
No. Absolutely not. I'm not going to watch a music video and have somebody dictate to me what their song is about. No, it's my song. I'm listening to it. That kind of thing.
Anyway, like, I don't know how I got this man to marry me because, like, he's so picky. And I'm chaotic.
More manic.
Maybe that's why. Chaotic!
Drop a comment below. Is she more chaotic or manic?
I'm chaotic. Okay, anyways. Let me talk! You're like, ugh. You're taking the thoughts out of my head. See, you just took them. What was it?
So
Okay, I got it. So it's and I'm watching this as like, okay, this is a different movie altogether. It's a standalone, so I'm not gonna put it in the same room with the other movies. I'm gonna watch this thinking this is, a younger Batman. He clearly is not like the cool, like
that's the cool part.
that's my cool Batman. And sorry, I just hit the mic, so I'm sorry if you guys got I'm sorry. It's my nails. So he's still like figuring shit out. And
yeah, it's year 2.
It's year 2. He's still trying to figure out who he is. I don't want to like talk too much about like the movie itself, but it's a different movie. So like it doesn't make sense to me to really just like put it against the other ones, but I know it's a natural thing, and I'm probably, you guys are all watching this and you're like, Caroline's insane. You have to compare, which is totally fine. But I'm watching this, it's like, okay, it's a noir Batman movie.
Also, every movie is potentially somebody's first. And not only just first movie in general, All Dogs Go to Heaven, I think, was the first movie that I saw in theaters. Do you remember the first movie you ever saw in theaters?
Beauty and the Beast.
Really?
I was told to shut up.
Why were you like, ah?
I guess I was just being loud, but I don't remember what I said. But I remember somebody telling me to shut up, even more so than I remember watching the movie.
Were you being loud or were you being manic? So, with something like this, it could be somebody's first Batman movie. So this could be the thing that they judge Batman based off of, because there were plenty of people like our age that their first Batman movie was Tim Burton's Batman. So that's potentially one of the reasons why I always think da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Sure.
But also because the animated series was when we were kids as well. Kevin Conroy is my Batman. Like, as much as it's like Christian Bale was a good Batman, and George Clooney looks like a good Batman at the very least, and Val Kilmer had like, maybe like a scene or two where he was a good Batman, and so on and so forth. If I think Batman, I think the voice of Kevin Conroy. If I think Joker, I think the voice of Mark Hamill, and the look of pretty much the Arkham stuff, like visually for these kind of characters. Not for everyone, but those two at the very least. And so, if that's going to make an impression of somebody, their Batman for the rest of their life, some little 7-year-old kid or something could be seeing this, and it's like Robert Pattinson is what they consider to be like, that's the benchmark of Batman. And then, they'll go back and they'll check the other ones out and they'll laugh at the Adam West one, or, plenty of people are like, that's Batman to them is Adam West. And like, why doesn't Batman dance anymore and stuff like that, just.
And just with what resonates with somebody, I feel like there are elements to this movie that I would say certain people will probably react more positively about, because maybe they see a little bit more of themselves in this Batman, than George Clooney and his bat nipples. Or
I'm curious if anybody does see themselves in George Clooney's bat nipples. Like, I don't know how you pull that mirror kind of thing off, but
or his ass. That was
the ass shots. One. Yeah, well, the ass shots. They all got ass shots, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. I know that
they do.
Silverstone at least gets a boob shot and an ass shot, because everybody's just doing that. Joel Schumacher's just like,
equality.
Let me zoom in on all these parts, and they're like, "Can you write like a good villain for Bane?" And they're like, "No, he just goes, but I need another ass shot."
I did like that Bane.
I thought that was Bane for the longest time.
I thought so too.
And then eventually, I'm like reading a couple comics, and I'm like, "Oh, Bane is kind of awesome.
Yeah.
And then, you know,
Now Bane to me is the Bane from the video games.
thankfully not the
No. I actually have failed to watch the whole movie. I keep falling asleep. I always fall asleep. And that's like my thing. Like if I fall asleep, to this day I haven't seen Road to Perdition. I'm not even joking. Like I remember renting this movie when I still lived in Brazil. And granted, it was after lunch.
So nap time.
It's nap time. And it was on a Sunday. So I was already exhausted, you know. And it was a Sunday, like God's day, whatever. You sleep that day. I put the movie on and I watched till he says like something like, oh, and people always ask me what I say about my father, what I think about my father, whatever.
Which, if I remember correctly, is like 30 seconds in.
It's less than a minute probably, or less than 5 minutes. I woke up exactly just before the credits when he's like, and that's what I tell people when they ask me about my father. Credits. And I'm like, well, still don't know what happens in that movie. I still don't know what he talks about when people ask about his father. We'll watch it.
We'll watch it at some point.
No, because that was Mother Nature being like, you don't need this movie in your life. I'm like, all right, nap.
It's a pretty good movie. It's got...
my nap was great.
The little kid eventually goes on to play Superman. And that took me by surprise because I was like, he could be a good Batman. Instead, he goes Superman. And then, of course, the guy that I was like, that guy's going to be James Bond? That guy? For Daniel Craig. And then that, you know, worked out the way that it is, and No Time to Die sucks. But
my nap was great, though. I woke up, like, fully crusty drool. Like, it was great.
No Time to Die, or not No Time to Die. No, I'm not going to praise that. Road to Perdition, though, great soundtrack. And that's got, like, Irish stuff in it and everything, so I'm all over the place with music. But I guess we can start to get in some more specific stuff. So I guess just in case, because we're going to, you know, obviously talk about more character stuff and how things work. Here you go. Here's your spoiler warning. Spoiler. Eventually I'll get a graphic. I'll put something up on there. I promise. I just didn't think about that ahead of time. But spoilers from this moment on, potentially. There you go. You were warned. So everybody dies. And it's good. I do the same fucking joke every single time.
And you laugh about it.
I do. It's that joke, especially if somebody can overhear it, and I just go, I can't believe that they killed, and then, you know, just hoping that somebody does that. That's the one of the two main jokes. The other one being like, you know, Fantastic Four movie, and you go, I didn't see Fantastic 1, 2, and 3.
I hate this joke.
You love it.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do.
No,
you still laugh. You'll laugh for the next 40 years, and then you'll kill me. But obviously, we got Batman. Everybody knows Batman. It's Bruce Wayne. Billionaire Bruce Wayne. Spoiler. Oh my God. Some people figure that out in the movie. Riddler does. But we got Selina Kyle, one of the main characters, the female lead more than anybody else. We got some people from the comics, some people that are created just specifically for the movie, which that's always one of my nitpicks, is always there's plenty of people that you can throw into the comics. So I'm looking at this like Gil Colson, Peter Sarsgaard plays him. I'm sure that there's 500 different district attorneys. I probably have a list of it somewhere on my Evernote stuff of different district attorneys before Harvey Dent. I originally, when the casting was coming out for this, I was like, the only thing I found out was Peter Sarsgaard is playing the DA. And I was like, oh, he can't be Harvey Dent. Like, he does not strike me as Harvey Dent at all. As Gil Colson, yeah, okay, well, he's whatever. So, like, Gil Colson, okay, cool. We'll talk characters, you know, one by one and all that. But Penguin in this movie, which is funny enough because it's like, you know, however many years ago, 1992, I think, Batman Returns comes out, and it's got Batman, Catwoman, and Penguin as like the three main people. And then this one, outside of Riddler, they're the three mains. So I saw a little, you know, side by side poster, and it was like then and then now kind of a thing or whatever. And we could do our little comparisons to that too and everything. But I really like that we've gotten to a point, you know, it's been with the MCU, they've kind of introduced this stuff. So I'll give credit more for that than even like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Spider-Man 3 comes out, everybody complains, oh, there's too many villains in there. And it's like, no, there's one more villain than it needs to be, and you focus on the wrong people and all that. But everybody thought too many villains. Bane and Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze. Too many villains in the movie. That's why the movie failed. No, the movie fails. Batman and Robin. It's fucking great in like a ridiculous way, but it's a shit movie because it's shittily written. Shittily.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm coining that term. You can have more than, one villain and do the movie well, and the MCU's proven that. So they felt comfortable enough that they could do Penguin, Catwoman, Riddler, Sal Maroni. Well, Sal Maroni's not really in this, but Carmine Falcone, and of course, plenty of thugs and everything. And I don't think that they
plenty of thugs.
Hmm?
That just sounds like a cereal box or something.
Plenty of thugs, like Cheerios or something. Like you. What little prize do you get in Plenty of Thugs?
A ski mask.
Just taking up the whole box. Maybe I think a cling wrap in this movie. Don't forget your cling wrap.
Yeah.
Rifles are good. That was another line in the movie. Don't take that as me being some gun nut or something. That's completely not the case. But I like that they were able to balance these characters out really well. I don't feel like even, I'll talk about the nitpicks of these other movies down the line too, but like Commissioner Gordon in Tim Burton's Batman sucks. He's a fat nobody who doesn't do damn thing, and he's just like the only thing I really remember is he goes, "He gave us a signal," and it's like, okay, that's really great. This one he doesn't even need to say because he's just like, "Yep, fucking signal. I'm Jeffrey Wright. I'm kicking some ass." I didn't feel like they lost track of any of the characters at all. Same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I have a really hard time with ensemble casts. We've been watching TV shows, and I have to like describe a character sometimes so that he knows who I'm talking about. And I had no issues with this cast. I feel like they did a good job. Like I was worried that they will kind of just take Selina Kyle's character as just like,
like a cameo, sort of.
eye candy, just like to, it, and I think that they did an okay job.
Yeah.
But I mean, and I am always biased because I love the villain so much, that I kind of wish we had more Riddler a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that because
Paul Dano's so good.
He was really good in this, yeah.
He's a brilliant actor.
Mm-hmm.
He really, really is.
I don't think I've seen him in anything bad.
No. And he does a creepy character so well. And there are so many sides to the Riddler in this that I kind of I wanted more. And maybe they didn't do that because it is still, and that's why I asked you, like, what's the rating for this movie? It's a PG-13 movie. And maybe if they had more Riddler, it would have to be an R-rated movie, which I would have loved that so much. But I'm jumping the gun on this. I feel like I would like more of the Riddler, but it wasn't like, it was more like I would like than we need.
Yeah, not like, for instance, to turn back to Eternals, where it's like, oh, we need like 3 more movies worth of time to actually flesh out these characters to give a damn about who any of the characters are, because they're all just, here's Speed Girl, she's speedy, we'll talk to you in an hour and a half. And it was like, who fucking cares? That should have been a TV series. Yeah. This was like, we're going to skip through some of the stuff. So, I mean, the movie's 2 hours and 50 something minutes long. So they're pushing.
Plan accordingly. I needed to pee really badly towards the end.
I'm the type of person who I'm like, give me the 14-hour movie.
He's a camel, though.
Really, yeah.
He'll be fine, like, peeing once a day. I pee, like, every 10 minutes. So.
Yeah. But, like, if you're watching this at home, too, you could always stop it. But, like, I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan. But if I was a big Lord of the Rings fan, I'm sure I would rather watch the super extended, we showed you every single step that they took to Mordor kind of thing. same as I am with my favorite movie of all time, Terminator 2. I never, as soon as I realized that this was on the DVD, I've never watched Terminator 2, the regular theatrical cut since then. I've always watched not even the extended cut, but the super extended cut, where it has literally every finished scene in the movie. And it's like, okay, you're going to show the split seconds worth of the T-1000 going like this to posters in John's room. And I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, of course you would show that scene.
And yeah, you complain when I want to watch a horror movie because it's too slow.
Subtitles
Or God forbid, it's something I want to watch. He's like playing Pokemon Go in the first 5 minutes.
Sometimes I have to catch something important.
It's annoying.
But I thought that they had enough time to be able to give every character a little bit of time to breathe that deserved time to breathe. Obviously, like the mayor at the beginning of the movie, he's there to get killed. Who fucking cares? He's not even a guy. I mean, he's a guy, but, you know, I've never heard of the character in the comics or something, so it's not like it's Rupert Thorne and they just kill him off super quick or something. And that's good, too, because as much as I would say you should incorporate every character that you possibly can, and if you have Officer Martinez in this, and I'm like, that could have been, you know, maybe like, I don't know. We can't try to think of a character that could have worked along with that. There's plenty of GCPD characters, but for instance, bring up another movie instead. I thought it was absolutely ridiculous in The Dark Knight. You've got a big burly white cop who's kind of on the take, and he's not Harvey Bullock. And you've got a Latina cop who's working with Gordon, and she's like, I don't know, like Rodriguez or something, I think was her name. And it's like, why isn't that Renee Montoya? Like, why not make those characters the characters that they are? It would be strange if you had somebody working with the Wayne Enterprises and it's not Lucius Fox or something. Like, you know, that stuff always kind of throws me off. So when it's Bella Real is the mayoral candidate, and I'm like, there's been 100 mayoral candidates, I think you could probably pick another one. But you don't need, you know, a character like that doesn't need to have too much breathing room. She's there to serve her purpose, and she serves that perfectly fine. And
yeah, and they write enough that we get that, like, okay, so she's like not a corrupt. Yeah. She's like obviously the option Gotham should go with. So okay, we got it. That's all you need.
Yeah, you need basically 2 scenes to establish.
Yeah.
She good, and then yup, she's still good, and then you know, and not dead. But so like Chief Mackenzie, I'm looking at I have to look up the names because it was just, you know, whatever, but like Chief Mackenzie, okay, it's a guy, you know, so we're not going to bother to talk about some of those characters, you know. The twins, sure, although according
that was funny though. I like that.
You like the twin? I didn't do anything.
I thought it was like I guess I enjoy the whole, like, when they open the door and it's Batman, and one of them is like, and Batman's like, do you know who I am? And he's like, yeah. And then he closes the door, calls the other twin, and they try to, like, knock him out. And then later on, we have...
Oh, I liked the recurring
thing. Yeah. That's why I was like, oh, I know, like... And
the twins themselves, I'm like, it could have been anybody.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I like the recurring joke
but
there.
I thought it was like, it was funny, and the fact that they got twins, it's like, you remember that's a, you know.
True.
Because you have to remember, like, the way the movie shot, like, a lot of the scenes are dark.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of need an extra little thing to make characters, like, more memorable. So, like, yeah, you have, like, those 2 guys in the front, like, okay, they're the twins. And even, like, Penguin's like, oh, you met the twins. And he's not British. I don't know why I did that.
I was like, that's a really bad impression of Penguin right there.
I don't know how to do that. My New York
just
accent.
Say, sweetheart.
Sweetheart.
That was
met the twins. I don't know. My New York accent only comes out every now and then. It's a potpourri of accents here. Yeah, or even when we see that Kenzie, the corrupt cop, because he gets his nose busted pretty early on, and Batman even reminds us, like, no, I think it's Bruce Wayne's like, oh, I think that I broke his nose. So then you remember, like, oh, that basic white guy with the broken nose, that's Kenzie. So it helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, you know, bit players like that, like, they're on the positive side more than anything else. But obviously they're not the big takeaways from the whole movie. So like the major characters, including little boy who goes like this 5 times in the movie. No, I know some people are like, that's Robin. And it's like, no, that's not. He's literally Mayor Mitchell's kid. That's not Robin any more than the little boy in Batman Begins is Robin, just because he hands him a little fucking doohickey and people were going nuts for years. They're just like,
it's Peter Parker.
Yeah. Although that one turned out to be real with the MCU
I
thing.
I know, but I'm just making a joke.
Right,
That's Peter there too.
Yeah, Peter Parker is the next Robin, and they're just going to merge the series together. That's how they're going to get around to it. Everybody wants to be a part of the MCU now, even the Batman. So, cross promotion, cross pollination. We're all healing. There's a rainbow popping up somewhere. But like, if you've got about 7 main characters in this at most, that you really can dive deep into. Out of all of them, I don't know, a good starting point maybe could be Commissioner Gordon.
Oh,
because
Batman.
Batman's Batman. We'll get around to him.
Oh, okay.
But no, we're not going to be like, no, we're not going to talk about Batman.
I don't know.
But like,
I'm just a guest here.
I'm gonna switch the sidebar here, and it's gonna say instead of the Batman, it's gonna be the Commissioner Gordon. This is a different version of Gordon than we've seen in some other things, and in some ways, absolutely not. In some ways, it is, and the most, of course, visually, obvious change is it's Jeffrey Wright. So this is a black Jim Gordon, and when they first announced that, of course, there's some people that are doing backlash because they're just kind of like, that's not what Jim Gordon looks. He looks like fucking Jim Gordon, and it's Jeffrey Wright, and he's
brilliant.
Great.
He's brilliant.
He's not only my second favorite Felix Leiter, partially tied to be my favorite Felix Leiter, but when they announced him, I was like, all right, well, there's other people that I would have probably cast. I still think that a really, really good Jim Gordon would be Bryan Cranston. I think that he would be perfect for it. And he visually looks exactly the same as he does in the comics and stuff. But I was like, okay, you know what? Jeffrey Wright, I'm down for that. That's pretty cool. And he got everything with Jim Gordon down. I mean, the character is exactly the same as what Jim Gordon is. He has the mustache. He's a good cop. He trusts Batman. He has a couple lines here and there of just kind of like, not really jokey, but kind of jokey, which that's my favorite type of Gordon, with him being like
snarky.
Right, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, he's snarky, which fits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. Like, Gotham is... It's dirty. Like, we see so many shots of the movie where there's just like garbage everywhere. People are just committing crimes. There's a drug that's like rampant everywhere. And it's so popular that in the beginning of the movie, we even see somebody robbing like a little deli wearing the mask of the eye drop. So like the city's disgusting. Like, you're not going to have like a cop like Gordon that's like not like...
He doesn't have at least some sort of sense of humor to the fact that this is what he does all the fucking time. Like, and he's standing next to a guy dressed up like a bat. And, when people are like, he's a freak, and he's just like, he's with me, and like that kind of thing. And I liked, when he pulls up and it's the car and he just kind of looks at the car like, I got this rinky-dink shit car, and you come up with this souped up muscle car, and like, you didn't put on the signal, like this kind of thing. Like,
and there's also the social commentary, I would say, behind it. Like, he is a black man in a position of power in the police force. So I feel like if he didn't have a sense of humor about everything, and he was like snappy and sometimes even the way like he looks at certain cops when they're being like annoyed at Batman, like that alone is just like, this man's awesome.
Yeah.
Like he understands what his position, like the load of his position. But he's still, he has to have that, I hate the word swag, but I think I'm going to have to use it. That swag.
That je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, that je ne sais quoi. There you go. That's much better.
He's got that swag.
I hate it so much.
I wish I could do like audio cues here and not get copyright and just play a split second of the Street Profits theme. But yeah, I mean, again, like if I compare ideals and everything, you can't in certain scenarios. Like you only have 2 hours and 50 minutes. You can't cram everything that you possibly can in here. My favorite version of Jim Gordon knows that Bruce is Batman and has a little bit more of an emotional tie to him. But I like that in this one, you don't have to necessarily go in that because it wouldn't have served any purpose in the story.
It's so early on too.
Right. So if they would have just done something that would have hinted at that, as much as that would appeal to the fan in me that goes, yeah, Gordon does know, it would make no sense in this movie. So that's a nitpick that isn't a nitpick because it would have made no sense. So, so I really like Gordon, of course. As far as, let's go. I mean, there's not really nothing to talk about Commissioner Pete Savage, right? He's a corrupt cop. When the commissioner first talked, I didn't think that was going to be his voice.
Oh, yeah.
He was just kind of like, right? He's just kind of like, what the hell, guys?
What the hell? What the hell? And then we had the same joke.
So if anybody does follow Smart Out Moment for the pro wrestling side of things, and Jim Cornette, then you probably know Bruce Pritchard and the Something to Wrestle With podcast and all that, and his impression of Jim Cornette, which is, bumping up the pitch a little bit of the Cornette thing of just, goddamn motherfucker, and all this. So,
double meal,
yeah.
double cheese.
So when this commissioner guy comes out and he's just kind of like, what the hell? Oh, man. What are you talking about, the goddamn Batman? Motherfucker. That was their one, the one fuck that they got. So if they would have done one more fuck, it would have been a rated R film. But yeah, that took me by surprise. And I'm just kind of like that. And somebody like, did Riddler put his balls in a vice before this scene or something? For him to just be like, oh, goddamn, I don't want to fucking deal with the Batman. Not the characters like that don't have too much going on for them. But as far as like minor characters go, this is just a very random thing. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Jay Lecourgo. The kid that pops up, and I think he might have been on the trailers and stuff. We're on the spoiler section anyway, so it doesn't matter. But there's a group of thugs, which again could be, you could do 15 different gangs, and they didn't. They just went with generic thugs, but whatever. But they're face painted and everything. The kid's got half the face paint, half not, which is pretty much a visual cue of he's not sure if he wants to join the gang and he's not fully committed.
This is his initiation.
He's in the initiation. Yeah. He's not fully in there kind of thing. So it's not, some people like, that's a Harvey Dent, like that kind of thing. We'll get to that a little bit later. But his character and all that is just like a kid in this. And I was like, I think I know that kid from somewhere. He is currently Tim Drake on Titans for this past season. So funny enough, he goes from being, like Robin in training. I just watched those episodes, a couple weeks ago, to being also in another Batman thing, and he's a criminal. So anybody's confused, it's not the same continuity. I know that there's people out there that would just be like, so Andrew Garfield, like he's just, that's another Spider-Man movie. He just, he's going to be with Mary Jane in this one. Now that all gets confusing because it all is the same continuity, but it's a whole different thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm like, oh, the kid's doing that. That's kind of just one of those weird sort of deals. Kind of like how it's funny that Robert Pattinson is, a vampire in Twilight, makes his career off of that. Then he becomes Batman, and it's Robert Pattinson. Christian Bale is Bateman, and then he's Batman. And then, it's somehow these things work out like that. But we will talk about Barry Keoghan later for a split second, because he only pops up for a split second. What do you think about Alfred?
I love Andy Serkis. Is that how you pronounce his last name? I'm sorry. I love him. And I remember you telling me that he was going to be Alfred before I saw the trailer. Because unlike you, I made a point to not read anything about this. I didn't hear any buzz. Like, I made a point to just, like, not. Because I was worried that it was going to be a really big disappointment for me. So I was like, I'm not going to know anything. And I think that I only saw the first trailer fairly recently with you. So he told me that he was playing Alfred before I had the visual. And at first I was like, I'm not sure. Because he always comes off to me having a certain Gruffness? Yes. Yes. So I was like, well, I don't know, because, like, to me, Alfred, I forget his name.
Michael Caine? Michael Gow?
Is it Michael
Goff?
Gow?
Gow? I think it's Goff.
The one from Batman Forever?
Yeah, and the Tim Burton, he's on all four of them.
Yeah. So, to me, that's, like, my idea of Alfred, like, very, like, sweet, like, meek British.
Like, I made you some soup to fight Mr. Freeze's cold, that kind of thing.
Yes. Very, fatherly figure, very, like, nurturing. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see. I feel like Andy Serkis, like, he tends to bring a certain darkness to his character. So I was like, all right. But I liked him, and I think it worked really well with how they had the idea. There's even a scene where, we're spoiler dance. Alfred is in the hospital, and he tells Bruce, like, basically that he wasn't ready to be a father, and he was just like, he had to, and he kind of, like, made it seem as if he felt that, he wasn't enough, or
he wasn't
like,
the right type of person that
he didn't know what he was doing, and that worked for me. And not to jump around too much, but I'll just say that the way he is in this movie and the darkness, again, works really well with the noir vibe of this movie, but also with the way Bruce Wayne is. Because this is a different Bruce from what we're used to.
So out of all the Alfreds that have been on, like, the live action side of things, we got the Adam West thing doesn't really count. But, like, the original Tim Burton movies, and we got Michael Caine. He's doing his thing in that movie. You got Jeremy Irons in, the ones with Ben Affleck, and this one and everything. Every single one of them is missing at least one thing from me. And it's the type of thing that sometimes it's visual, sometimes it's something like they're a little bit too warm and they don't have that edge. Sometimes they have a little bit too much of an edge and they're not warm enough. I like my Alfred as, I really like the idea that he used to be a Secret Service agent. And when they introduced that, and whatever comic it was, I'm not, as much as I'm a Batman snob, I'm not a comic snob, so I can't say, issue number 5 of whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't fucking know. But I like that kind of version of him, of, like, I guess a little bit sort of like what the Gotham TV show was. That's a mess of a show. That's so much wrong with that show. But they got Riddler down really well. The Penguin was great on that.
Yeah.
And then pretty much not much else. But Harvey Bullock was good. I liked Bullock. And the casting of Barbara Gordon was, like, she was absolutely perfect. And then they fucked the character up. Sidebar. But I like my Alfred visually, at the very least, bald or balding, with a little, like, weird sort of almost comical mustache, like the animated series. And obviously a thin, slim guy who looks like he takes care of himself, because he shouldn't be just like an overweight slob or something. So, I mean, Andy Serkis has, you can tell that he's worked out and everything. So he could be that, like, British agent from the past, and he's got that gruff side, so you can imagine that. But I also like Alfred being the type where it's like, I had to put that aside and try to be a father thing. And so that when they went in that direction here, where it wasn't so much like that, and it wasn't too much like the Tim Burton one, where I can't picture that guy getting into a fight. He just invites Vicky Vale to the cave and that kind of thing. And, like, that version is missing the gruffness. This version's got the gruffness to it. And the fact that he acknowledges that he wasn't fatherly enough was enough of an excuse for me to be like, okay, well, that's why he doesn't have that fatherly edge, because that version's not going so much in that direction, which I'm cool with.
But don't you also feel, and this is how I interpret it, that he felt like he had to do it. He had to be a father to Bruce, and he felt, which I think is really real, because, I mean, we don't have children, or a puppy anymore, but we have my plants. They're my kids. I I love them.
There you go. There's a couple.
There's a bunch. Like what I hear from people when they're being honest is like you never really are ready.
Right.
Right. And then the situation happens, and then Alfred kind of just like not only to be a father, but to be a father to a growing boy who's not even a baby anymore. So he already has a personality. He already has, and it's a traumatized child on top of it.
And a brilliant child too. So it's not even like you could just dangle some keys and be like, no, everything's fine.
And, like,
it's like Bruce is a genius.
A fortune. So it's like, it's a lot. So like if he said like, I was fairly ready. Like, no,
Right.
he wouldn't. So I like, and then the fact that they have that moment in the hospital and he extends his hand to Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that was almost like him being like, I recognize, and again, that goes with how Bruce is. It's like, I recognize that I could have been warmer to you. And now that I recognize that, I'm giving you that. I'm offering you that.
Yeah.
And then when Bruce holds his hand, that's
he's
like,
reciprocating.
I need that.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was like a really, again, like a very small moment. But to me, these moments are what really make any movie. Is when you get a glimpse, especially when it's a hero, like you get that like moment of like, oh, this person, and with Batman, you need it. Like, this person is broken. Like, this, Bruce has some serious issues, and he allows himself to just be fragile and vulnerable. And he does that with Alfred, which makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, because who's he going to trust with his emotions more than Alfred at this point? He doesn't have...
He's the one person that knows him.
Yeah.
Knows that he's also Batman, and he's been there for him.
And they do the whole thing in different stories where he says things like, I was changing your diapers before you wore a cape and cowl and different things.
Which is the other... I mean, if, the Bruce's parents were really rich, like, chances are Bruce was never really raised.
In that capacity, at least. Yeah, Martha's not, like, doing the same things that a single mom in, the Bronx is doing right now.
A single mom, like a regular parent.
Anyway,
like,
yeah.
When you're rich, like, you're gonna have, like, around-the-clock nannies.
Yeah.
So
that one random character that was in here, there was, like, what was her name? She was, like Gloria or something? I forget.
I think it was Gloria, yeah.
Yeah, it was just, like, so I'm like, who is this woman?
That makes sense. Like, she's helping run the household.
I think that could have been Dick Grayson's Aunt Harriet. I would have probably named her Harriet, just to kind of throw a little reference out there. But
Gloria.
I kind of think that maybe she should have died in the explosion.
You want to kill her?
To sacrificial lamb.
Why?
Like maybe she should have opened up the thing instead, and maybe that's Alfred.
No, you need Alfred.
Well, Alfred needs to get hurt, but like maybe she should have been. Yeah, he should have been in the blast, and she should have been like right there and blown up or something. I don't know. Yeah, it's okay to kill a character here and there, but
yeah, but like, why Gloria?
Why not?
Why are you shitting on Gloria like this?
Because who the fuck's Gloria?
She's helping.
She's the help. It's to use that phrase. But a little moment like that, you said it's a little moment in there. That's a big moment too, because at the beginning of the movie, Bruce and Alfred do not seem to get along. And that took me by surprise. And I was like, I don't think I like this direction that they're going. I hope that they fix that by the end of the movie. Because he's just like, shut up, you're not my dad. And I'm like, oh, okay, the brooding, I got my hair. The emo hair. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we need to talk about the hair.
But that's very much the joke that I always make with the emo hair thing is that every song is just my dad doesn't get me. I'm falling to pieces.
Falling to pieces. The dad doesn't get me.
It's just kind of like I'm falling to pieces, and Alfred's not my real dad, and like that. And I was just like, don't tell me that we're gonna get emo Bruce, who's just kind of like, you're not my real dad, and he slams his door and everything. So by the end of the scene where he puts his hand out and, they actually have that moment, that's an acknowledgement of, yeah, I'm kind of being a dick to you. You were really good to me. I realized that you did things more for me than I thought that you did. And I was mad at you that I thought that you lied to me and it wasn't necessarily you were protecting my feelings and, all these other kind of things like that. So that was a small moment that actually translates to a big moment, which one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Very effective.
Yeah. What was weird though was when they first announced Andy Serkis is in the movie, and they also announced at the same time Colin Farrell's in the movie, and they announce, oh well, the Penguin and Alfred have been cast. I'm like, Colin Farrell as Alfred? He doesn't seem like he's old enough to necessarily do it, but I mean, hey, maybe they're going in a slightly younger direction. There was a point in time where Timothy Dalton was rumored to be Alfred, and that would have been great. I think he would have been a fan. He still could be.
You want it?
Just, you want it.
You want it.
He would be a fantastic Alfred. I really want to see that down the line. But I was like, oh, Colin Farrell as Alfred. I mean, maybe or whatever. But Andy Serkis as Penguin, that'd be fucking great. He looks like he would be a great Penguin. And then when it's the opposite way, I'm like, they can't possibly do Colin Farrell as Penguin because, I mean, maybe Andy Serkis can be a good Alfred. Okay. But Colin Farrell as Penguin, what the fuck movie is this going to be? Is this going to be, oh, also, the Riddler doesn't do anything with question marks, and also Selina Kyle is played by Melissa McCarthy, or like, just like go all over the place here, and our Commissioner Gordon is actually not going to be a cop, and it's like, so I was just like, Colin Farrell doesn't look anything like Penguin. You give him a slightly beakish nose, and that's still not good enough. Then we eventually see footage of some test makeup and everything, and there's no point in this movie that if you wouldn't have told me ahead of time that it was Colin Farrell, that I ever would have thought that it would have been him.
Amazing.
He was so good in this.
And just the makeup.
The makeup itself too.
The makeup was absolutely brilliant.
Like he's got all these like cracks in his skin. He's all gross looking.
Scars and yeah. Amazing. Amazingly apply. Like he looks like they casted a person that looks like that.
Yeah, and
body language, like he was phenomenal.
He got a lot of stuff
accent
into this that like you can tell, and I can tell a little bit through like a couple little interviews that have come out that I've seen. He really liked doing this. And I think that they're doing a spin-off in some fashion. I don't know, but he is like seemingly like, fuck, this was great. Because he's hamming it up, but he's not being campy. He's just sort of, all right, I'm not going to play the characters I normally play. I'm not going to be the handsome, suave, whatever type of guy and whatever. I'm going to be a low-down son of a bitch, greasy scumbag mobster who isn't like the sexy version of that. Because you can still be, I mean, like Michael Corleone is like, well, he's an awful human being, but you're like, yeah, I can get like people falling for his act, and there's plenty of people in any type of mob thing or something, but he's just this gross, slimy kind of guy, and he has funny moments, and he has moments where he seems kind of threatening, and threatening moments like when he shoots, where he's about to shoot Falcone, versus a moment where he's, in the trailer and everything, you could see, and we're in the spoiler section, it doesn't matter, where he's, thinking that he killed Batman in the car, and he's just like, yeah, I got you, and I'm like, oh, fuck.
And when he's all handcuffed and his feet are tied and he's trying to walk and he does the penguin walk, we were like,
yeah. That was a really good little touch of just
that was really good.
Waddling like a penguin, just, do.
And I love that he was like, "Are you guys stupid? Like, el rata, la rata, you don't know feminine masculine." I'm like, yes.
So, I mean, Penguin has the Iceberg Lounge, which that's one of the things that appeals to the geek in me, which is like, yeah, of course the Penguin's got the Iceberg Lounge. If you have him running a nightclub and you don't call it that, that's fucking travesty. Because
what was the club within the club, 44 Below?
44 Below, I think.
Which I also thought was really cool. Because it's like, oh, okay, so this is like...
Below zero,
even
Sub-Zero.
Like Selina says, this is the real club.
This is the one that is, the 7th level of hell, or 6th level, or whatever the hell. Dante's Inferno. Throwing out a reference I don't even know for the sake of it. But that, of course, the Iceberg Lounge, if you follow the comics, you watch the TV shows and everything like that, the Iceberg Lounge is this legitimate business front, remind the camera, that people will go and they'll meet up and they'll have business meetings about crime. So it's like, yeah, okay, on the papers and on the books, he's running a nightclub, but he's also running a front for oh, they do the loading dock in the back, and that's where they
Mhm.
do shipments of whatever the hell or something. So love little touches like that. Anytime a movie can do something where they just reference those things, it's always great to me. So he was great. He was a big standout. And whenever they do
Really
this little
was.
spin-off thing, I'm totally down for watching a Penguin show. I think it's supposed to be a little bit of a prequel and a little bit of a sequel or something. I don't really know. I haven't read too much because I didn't want to get any spoilers. But if it's anything like something like Peacemaker or something, then, I loved it. She didn't like it. But characters like those, really great. We got another version of Falcone. Or Falcone. They called him Falcone in this one. I always like Falcone. It's Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul, whatever you want to call it. John Turturro, which I was like, I don't know. I mean, we got a couple different Falcones, and nobody really looks like the Falcone from the comics, oddly enough, which looks very much just like Marlon Brando, but if he were fit, kind of. Not the like full, I won't do anything more today kind of thing. Side note, do you ever know that the cat in that scene, The Godfather, wasn't supposed to be in the scene?
Oh, really?
Cat just popped up on the set, and he was just kind of like,
Oy.
I'm just going to hold the cat, that kind of thing. So, when John Turturro's there and he's looking like John Turturro, he's got his like wily curly hair, this cotton ball sticking up out of his head kind of thing. Cause he's all gray now,
So?
Yeah. So he's like a Q-tip because he's thin and, that's not going on. That to me, I was like, different version of Falcone. Sure. Why not? He gets the character down well enough. He's a slimy mobster stuff. Totally cool with him.
I love John Turturro. I feel like he can do no wrong. He even played Monk's brother in the Monk TV show, and to me, like, I kept comparing his character on that show, who is like a complete recluse, who is afraid of people, has never left the house, and writes manuals for everything because he has like a photographic memory. So he's like very like meek and like very like uncertain of himself. And then you have him as Falcone, who's like, come here, darling, let's just like discuss business over espresso. Like, yeah, like I dig.
I don't remember that part in the movie where he just invites someone for espresso.
That's just, it's an extra. You didn't pay attention to this scene.
Yeah, that's right after he says, hey, beautiful, and play some pool, right?
Yeah, with espresso.
Yeah.
He's
He's an espresso guy.
They probably cut that scene at some point because like he's drinking an espresso at some point. Like, come on. Like, he has to.
That's
but,
in the
like,
3.5 hour director's
yeah, exactly.
cut.
Like,
It's 20 minutes worth of him talking about
I think he did a
espresso.
great job, and I feel like his exchange with Bruce, about the whole thing with his family and the journalist who got killed, like, I really love that. And then Sounds of New York in the background.
Yeah.
I really loved it. I feel like it was that seemed to me like he had levels of like sympathy towards Bruce. He had that slight menace feeling because he is a mobster and he did this. He even says in the scene, like, when fear is not enough.
Yeah, your father asked me to put the fear of God in this guy, but when that
fear
doesn't do
wasn't
the trick
enough.
or something.
Yeah, but like, I feel like he did such a good job with the character because I got that feeling of like, whenever you watch a movie about especially Italian mob, is all about family and like the family, and I had that feeling of like the loyalty of like, oh, like your father saved my life, so yeah, I would do this for him. But there's this like slight undertone where I'm like, is Bruce in danger right now? Like, would he like pull up a gun, or is he gonna hug him? And he kept me guessing what he was gonna do. And I thought that was brilliant because that's how you would feel if you went to ask a question like that to a
known
boss,
mob boss, that runs the whole city. Not even like one of the underlings or something, which you wouldn't fuck around with either. But at the same point, the mob boss who is telling you Sal Maroni is the reason why your parents are dead, and Of course, he's lying and everything too. We find that out, which that was a good little twist too. And because my first thought was they're really making this all about Sal Maroni. That's kind of interesting. Like, because Maroni to me is the guy throws acid at Two-Face, and there you go. But even like little parts in that, I always like the idea that Falcone has some sort of ties to Thomas Wayne, whether it's, your dad was going up against me and that I put up a hit on him on that, or if it's like, well, we knew each other, but we didn't really converse because he was a good guy and a bad guy and that kind of thing. I like that, but I also liked when they were talking about the reporter and everything. This is one of those Batman geek out moments. They were talking about, I think they had called him like Edward Elliot or something. It was something with an E, Elliot. And I was like, oh, they went with Elliot. I wonder why they didn't go with Thomas Elliot and just throw that name out there. And then it says on the screen, it's Riddler doing this thing, and it says, hush. It's like, he was going to hush him or whatever. Hush, for anybody who follows that story, is Thomas Elliot. And Hush is the character that you might have seen in different things where he's wearing like a brown trench coat and he's got bandages wrapped around his whole head. And it's a whole mystery thing that Thomas Elliot used to be good friends with Bruce when they were kids. The Elliot family are another one of the big families of, the rich people in Gotham and everything. And, Thomas Elliot becomes like a surgeon because of Bruce's father and like all these other kind of things. So that little like, oh, the Elliots and it was Hush. I'm like, I get it. A little moment kind of thing. So they do that. And, that's always cool when they do that. Also, I was like, oh, they're actually going to go in this direction. Was the Falcone is Selina Kyle's dad? Because in the comics, sometimes that's true, sometimes it's not, depending on the continuity and everything. But sometimes they go what they do here, which I like a lot, which is Falcone is this mob boss who just sleeps around because people in power tend to do that a lot, unfortunately. And he just has a kid with some random girl
who worked at the club.
Right. She's in this continuity, she's just somebody who works at the club. Sometimes she's just a prostitute. Sometimes she's, whatever it might be. And it's just Maria Kyle. And, they have a kid. And he's just like, well, whatever. It's not my fucking kid. I don't give a shit. Even though it is. But that's the whole point. Like, he's shitty. So I always like when they do that kind of thing because it's kind of like, I like Selina being the type that, and we'll get into Selina, of course, too. I like it.
We'll get into her.
He might too. I like when Selina is somebody who, I don't want to say like there's like a sense of entitlement, but I like that she gets something of an edge to her where she feels like, why don't I steal things? Like, I deserve to take this diamond that says it's a cat's eye diamond or something, because fuck that. It's mine. That kind of thing. And I like when she's got that mobster edge because then it's like, okay, she probably gets that from her dad of just, I'm going to take something because I want it and I'm putting in the effort to steal it, so I deserve it too. And I like that she's also on this sort of, sometimes they write her where she's like a prostitute or she's not necessarily a prostitute, but like she kind of is like in that range of like sex workers and stuff, and that she fights for them. And in this movie, she's using a woman, but she's also caring about the woman. And you can tell that woman is there because she's somebody she's from another country and she came here based off her looks and she's kind of in a shitty situation and all that. So they tied into a lot of that stuff, which I thought was really good for Selina's character because they kind of hit very quickly a lot of beats of what Selina is. She's good. She's got a little bit of a dark side to her, but she's still good. She doesn't kill anybody in the movie. So it's not like...
She wants to.
She wants to, which that's a good version of Selina. Selina is like, she always could do that, but Bruce is the one that just puts the gun down and it's just kind of like, how about we don't? And then she goes like, okay, for now, that kind of thing. But this version of Selina, I don't know where I would rank her, but originally Zoe Kravitz, I was like, she could be good. We'll see.
I was so excited.
And I think that she killed it. She looks sexy, of course. You have to do that for Selina.
Oh God, yes.
Michelle Pfeiffer, of course, super hot in that movie. Anne Hathaway, she's beautiful. You go down the list of all these people. Very rarely is there like a Selina Kyle in something that it's not like, all right, she could get it. But Kravitz is. We've had a couple different, people do the whole thing about like Commissioner Gordon being black. Some people are upset about that for reasons that they shouldn't be. But Zoe Kravitz, of course, she's mixed. I forget what she's mixed with or whatever. But I like Selina as mixed. That's like my favorite sort of version of Selina. So when they cast her, I was like, I can see it. She has the short hair. She also wears wigs, just because why not? So you get to see a version of her in a cat suit that doesn't look like it's a stupid cat suit. She's not wearing that purple outfit.
The mask.
Had like the ski mask where it just had like a little bit of a...
because that's like the stitching. And he kind of made it look like cat ears. And I was like, that is pretty brilliant. Because she doesn't have that goofy, like, the whole cat thing going on. But yeah, those are little ears, but it's like the stitch. I thought that was like such a cool touch. And like,
right.
If you look at her apartment, like, she's not rich.
Yeah.
So,
of course, she's not some Nomex weave, whatever, complicated ass thing like they do in comic movies where it's like, how the fuck does Spider-Man make that outfit that's got these little tiny...
Right, like her outfit looks as if like she got that from like a bike shop or like a special... like nothing like too fancy. Mm-hmm. And then she has good boots where they're like not super crazy high and it's like, oh my god, like I hate that with a passion.
The fuck me boots. Yeah.
Okay, like, I'm not...
She couldn't possibly run in those kind of thing.
No, and, like, it has just, like, a little bit of a heel. Like, that was cool, and I love her nails. I love that she's, like, scratching people around. I wanted her to, like, lightly, like, scratch Bruce at the end. When they're saying goodbye, I want her to just go, like...
Just a little...
Take care of yourself. I would love that, but no, like I said, I was super excited for her to be Catwoman. Like, I think that she's just stunning. I think that she's talented. I feel like she's not given enough credit in Hollywood.
She could do more.
Because I feel like she's so stunning that I feel like she ends up just getting, roles because she's stunning. Okay. But, like, she's good at this. Like, she brings, like, sensitivity. She's a smart Catwoman. She's not there just because she's hot. She has her own wants. Mm. I like how she, like, interacts with Batman. I absolutely love her monologue on, like, who cares? These are just, like, white rich guys. Like, what about the people that get overlooked? Like, Annika. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, yeah, like, she's, like... a different version of vengeance. Like, she's in it for herself.
She's fighting for the people in a different way than Bruce is.
She's fighting for those that are, like, extremely neglected, that might not, that, like, like her friend, like, unfortunately, like, that line of work in real life. Like, how many women just disappear, even if they're not in that line of work, let alone if they're in that line of work. Like, that is, like, so cool, and I love that she, is not perfect. I love that she is cool. I love that she was having milk in that scene. I thought that there was such a cute touch.
Yeah. Good little cat joke.
Love the line, like, I have a thing for strays. I was like, take me now! I love her. I love her.
I love that, like,
beautiful.
For instance, a lot of movies do this kind of thing, and I think it's a good sign of a shitty writer when they go in either direction and they're either, like, overcompensate or they don't realize that they're making this mistake of... They could have very easily, in any movie, I mean, it's not just like in Batman movies, but like a character like Selina could have very easily just been a love interest and not much else. But like you said, she has her own goals. They just happen to align. And then also, she could have also just been a complete bitch, because a lot of movies, they overcompensate and they go, oh, well, we don't want to have this character seem like she's just a love interest. She's going to bitch and complain constantly.
And that's awful.
And then it's just like, well, why is it two extremes? Why can't she just be a normal character and write her like a normal character would be doing. You don't have to go into this mindset of, but she's a woman character, so we have to. No, she's just a character.
Mind blowing. Female characters can have
Exactly
different
the same.
layers
Right.
and actually be human beings.
So it's like if you changed, in some writers, if you change that character to another one, suddenly they lose that and they just become a normal character. Then you lose the whole, but as a woman blank or something through a woman's perspective. And then you just start writing this character as that kind of thing. So she didn't step into the, I'm not a damsel in distress. I'm a tough woman and I hate Batman, fucking whatever kind of thing. But she also didn't just get her ass kicked and go, Batman, save me. Exactly. So when they first fight, he beats her in the fight. He's holding her back. He steals the thing and whatever. And it's like, it's a Batman movie. Batman ultimately wins. You know?
Also,
but
chances are Bruce Wayne had like
more
amazing training and whatnot. Yeah. Like she already was vulnerable because she was the one caught by surprise. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like that makes sense. Right. That makes 100% sense. And
in a worse movie, he beats the shit out of her in that kind of scene. Not like physically beats the shit out of her, but like he wipes the floor and there's no competition at all. Or it's the type of thing where it's like, okay, but then she always gets the one up on him because we don't want to make her seem vulnerable. And she gets a couple shots in and she gets, to prove him wrong in some different parts. And then he gets to be his type of character and all that. So they got that dynamic down really well.
And she's the one that, after he gets her to like help him, she's like, can you help me then? Like, are we cool? And I thought that was really cool. And I even like said that like during the movie, she makes him shut up real quick as like she was like, he's like going on about whatever. I don't even remember. And she's just like, kiss. Like, effective. Done. Like, she's awesome. Like, I really, really liked her, what she brought to the role.
Yeah. She's got the sex appeal down, which is, of course, really important with Catwoman. We talked about the look and everything.
She also got like the whole, the way she like moves when she's like in the club. It's very like cat-like. I really love that.
Yeah, she has that going on for her. She's got the right type of edge where Selina should be a little bit like sometimes she can maybe scratch you kind of thing. Like that's what makes Selina fun. Like she's way better of a character than.
That's why I really want her to scratch him at the end. I was begging for just a light scratch, like nothing. Like and I was happy in the end when they
part ways
because I'm like they have to have that. And I also liked that they drive through the cemetery, which is kind of like okay, like in a way, death in both sides brought them together.
Also, the sins of the father, because it's not only do we do the whole thing with Thomas Wayne, which he really didn't do anything bad. If anything, he was doing the right thing, just in the wrong way. But the sins of the father are an element with the Bruce stuff, and then of course, quite literally, the sins of her father are like the sins of this whole fucking city. And I'm sure there would have been another mobster if he wasn't in charge, but it's like, he is still her dad and Falcone is responsible for a lot of things. And they can kind of, hey, our dads used to meet and like, yeah, look at that. Like, it's kind of one of those, it's a little meet cute in a way, sort of. But like, I like that because it's also sort of my ultimate idea of like, who does Bruce end up with? A lot of people think like Julie Madison or like Silver St. Cloud or... some people are like Bruce should never end up with anybody. He should always just be alone and die like a miserable fuck or something. I think that's a little bit too mean for a character that devotes his entire life to that stuff. But I lean more towards Selina than anybody else, even Talia. And I like when they do things kind of like what they do with this, with like you said at the end. That they care for each other. That they have the potential to just be like, okay, you want to take this any further? But they don't, because the story's not telling you the story of how those two meet and become lovers, and then that's, it all wraps up happily ever after. It's one thing to weave in there, but it's not the story. So you don't need to end this story with the same as you do with like Mary Jane and Peter Parker, where it's like he gets the girl and that's the happy thing or something. It's not Lois Lane and Superman, where he's going to be with Lois Lane and it's fucking ridiculous if he's not. But you know that even Bruce, the last shot of the movie essentially is Bruce looking back at her and just kind of being like, you know?
Yeah, and I love that final exchange between them because it's true to their character. She says, like, oh, why don't you come away with me? We can take down some CEOs. It'll be fun. So you know that she's going to keep doing her thing. And he's like,
I'm doing my thing.
I can't. And then she's like, and I love that she says, like, oh, yeah, you're already taken.
You're spoken for. Yeah.
You're spoken for because we see the bat signal. And it's like, yeah, like, he is choosing that and she's going for her thing. And I thought that was really cool too. That was a moment where it's like, you know, these two characters are gonna decide what they want, what's best for them, and it's not just gonna be one of those movies where it's like, especially the woman will give
stick
up
around
what
and
she
do what he wants to do, and then
and I absolutely hate that. So like, he takes her kitty with her. Like I loved it. Like I thought that was like really refreshing and fun.
And it leaves it open too, because you know if they want to do another one of these movies,
you know they can cross paths again.
Then she can just come back and be like,
yeah,
"What's up, bitches? I'm back." You know, that kind of thing. All the water go away. You know, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
Especially because cats don't like water, so she leaves the town. Look at that.
It's not true. Some kittens love water.
But that, you know, Selina, really, really good. Major hit in the movie. One of my favorite characters by far. We're talking some of the favorite characters. Riddler.
Yes.
So Riddler is not at all, if you look at Riddler in this movie and you just see a still image of that, that's not at all what Riddler is to me. But this version of Riddler is really cool. And despite the fact that he's not wearing a suit and being a little bit more, again, like my ideal, it doesn't apply in all scenarios, but my ideal Riddler is a little more showy, but not Jim Carrey showy. He's not, Jim Carrey was playing the Joker. He was playing the Joker in a leotard. But I like the Riddler to be more like, I'm going to put my face out there and I'm going to be like, I'm Edward Nygma. Like, I'm fucking brilliant. Why doesn't everybody just admit it? Oh, you think Batman's smart? Fuck that guy. I'm smarter than him. And like that he would just, like, he wouldn't wear a mask because it's like, I'm the guy that you need to all do that. Like, I like him being completely obsessive compulsive with the riddles to where, like in the one comic, I don't remember what it is, where he hands himself in and he says, I think I might really be sick. I tried not to put a riddle down and I couldn't do it. And that made me go, maybe I'm kind of crazy. Like, I like that Riddler of
self-awareness king.
I like the where it's like Riddler can almost be good. And if he was good, goddamn would he be good. But he's just like, well, gear's wrong. So he's fucking awful, you know, like. And when they said that they were going to do like a Zodiac killer thing, I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And then I saw pictures and I'm like, this looks stupid as shit. This looks awful. But in the movie, it really works. Now, the downside to it, we're going to get so many fucking people cosplaying as this character to the point where
that's expected.
But
Come
it's going to
on.
be bad versions of it. Because they're going to take like, when you see like the ugly Harley Quinn chicks that are just kind of like, you know, I dyed this part of my hair and, you know, I shouldn't be a Harley Quinn. Or you get like a baby shit Blade from New York Comic Con or something. It's a story for another day.
You should cosplay however you like. It's fine.
Some people should be the, like, the commissioner. Some people should be that guy.
Yeah, sure. But I feel like I would rather have a bunch of people cosplaying as the Riddler in this than having the couples be Harley and Joker. Because I feel like
that's overplayed, yeah.
Not only overplayed, but it's like, okay, you don't understand that she's in a very abusive relationship, and you're like, oh, we're all sexy together, and I'm like, like
I
lovers
love
forever. It's like
seeing
no,
the whole
no,
like
no.
I want a relationship like this, and it's like you want a relationship where he absolutely treats you like garbage and would kill you at any moment, and you like no, it's not. They're not the fun goth
Yeah,
couple.
that's what I'm
They're-
saying. Like,
yeah,
so it's okay. I like understand that the Riddler in this is a psychopath. He's actually like Tony told me because I hadn't even seen a picture of Paul Dano as the Riddler. And then he told me that like they actually made him look like the Zodiac. Now I'm a big true crime buff. If I could turn the camera around and you see the bookcase that's like next to us, it's just like gory stuff and true crime stuff. Like I devour podcasts and books. So when he told me that, I was like, ooh, that's really interesting.
that's a good way to interpret it because it's something different too. It's not
It
just
is something different.
Frank Gorshin again or something.
It's not just like visually, and because the way he uses the symbols, definitely the Zodiac, but they also took other things from other famous serial killers, which I thought was like really, really refreshing. And a lot of these guys, if you take somebody like the Zodiac or BTK, which I felt there were references to BTK in this, the BTK killer, the Unabomber towards the end, these guys in their own way, like I don't want to say that they were brilliant, but like
there's something to them that's like they're operating on a different level that if they could apply it in the right way,
and they're extremely egotistical.
Yeah.
Because they do believe that they're better than people. Like, like the whole thing with psychopaths is like, if you're a psychopath, you don't really see other people as people.
Yeah.
They're just a means to an end. And I loved that they did all that, plus bring the whole live stream thing into, because...
And he gets his army of incels.
I know, and I thought that was brilliant too. And I absolutely loved the little big touch where when he's talking to the media and he's talking on the phone, you have the voice masked, right? And that's like deep, like distorted, like very creepy voice.
For your blind eye? I'm fucking tough.
When he's talking to his incel friends, it's just like,
hey guys, thanks for so much.
This might be my last video for a while. And I'm like, this is so brilliant because it's like, yes, this is, if this character, and I mean, unfortunately, like, we have
way too many
real
examples.
life. Yeah, we have real life examples of this, and you can look up even examples on YouTube. There's still some videos of that guy that shot the university, I think it was Sacramento. Whenever he was like speaking to the camera and just like doing his videos by himself, he's like, he would change his voice and he would try to be like, I don't understand, because he was always trying to be sexy. I don't understand why these girls don't see how beautiful I am. And there's a point in the video where somebody like honks at him and he just goes literally like this. I don't understand. Oh, sorry. And it's like, yes, because like that's perfect. So like, and the fact that he even has that line of like, the mask allow me to be myself. I thought that was so good and so powerful because that resonates with Bruce in so many ways too, but it's true. And you can test it out. Like, if you put a mask on, it's almost like your inhibitions go away. Yeah. Because that's the removal of your own identity. So that was so brilliant. And I absolutely love. I feel like Paul Dano was like 100% the right choice for this. He always looks like he's like 13, 14. And so creepy. The only thing that I was like a little annoyed about as an eyewear user, wearer was the like, his glasses don't fuck up. He's wearing that mask and they're not fucking up. And
yeah, I mean, with COVID, we anytime we put our glasses on, we have, unless we have the thing like super tight right there or something, it's
a daily struggle. It's a daily struggle for me because I always have my glasses on.
But I thought that was even a funny touch too. Is that like he's wearing this mask and he's trying to look all cool, and he's got these glasses sticking out from there because it's like he still can't, because he's not cool.
He's not cool. Like, he says that he's not the physical type.
Yeah, he specifically brings out like Bruce could go beat people up because I can't do shit. I'm just this little fucking meek whatever. Which
when
is
he
true
does
so
kill the mayor in the beginning, I don't know if you noticed this, but when he first like, okay, first of all, the first shot we see him in the dark,
he's just standing
that
there.
you barely see his like person,
mostly just,
but the glasses, the reflection of the glasses, that's such a noir moment.
Yeah,
and I was so excited for it. It's like so good and so creepy that already like establishes like, oh okay, like I don't want this guy around. But when he does like finally kill the mayor
Mitchell or whatever,
you can tell he's like not used to killing people. He's a bit frantic about it. He's grunting. He's kind of like struggling a little bit.
Lunges weird, like
yeah. Like I even wonder if him dropping the weapon was something he planned, and I like that they kind of leave that like as like a maybe that was an accident, or maybe he planned it. But like I like to think it was an accident because this guy is probably not used to doing this.
Right.
Like his incel friends. Like his friends shooting the guns, like acting all tough when they first get there. And then you can tell that they're kind of nervous too. But then when Batman appears, they're like, like, yes, because these men would be like this. They would be all about the talk, keyboard warriors. But as soon as you get in their face, they'll be like,
which goes to show, if anybody's watching this movie and they're going, I identify so much with the Riddler, you should not, because that's not good.
Like, get some help. Like,
right. It's not a glamorous type of thing.
It is
and that's
not.
why I was really glad that they went in that direction, because it's like, okay, if you're doing a modern interpretation of Riddler and he's going to have followers in a serious movie, he's not going to have people that are wearing a little green hat with a question mark on it that are like, oh, I call myself Clue and I call myself I don't know, answer and the question, and you know, like quiz is my name, like, you know. But I didn't catch the other name. They had the two IDs. The one was Edward Nashton, and the other one was some other thing. It looked like Patrick something, and I was like, I don't know who that would be. I don't know if that was like, I thought that they were going to have potentially, when the split second that it happened, I was like, are they going to use the Clue Master name and just kind of merge them or something? But if anybody knows, drop a comment and let me know what that reference was. But like, he pulled that off really well. He, like, the look of him too, when we finally see him, and he looks like he's got this bowl cut, and it's like, okay, this is the type of guy that, like, if you flicked him, he would bruise, and he would just kind of like, that'd be the worst day of his life, kind of, you know. Like, he looks like he's been sheltered and he doesn't know how to take care of himself, and that he would lash out in that kind of way. Because he's in this scenario, he's an orphan who, like,
he had a really rough childhood,
right? And that he looks like the type of people that you see, not everybody, of course, but that you see a lot of people that are like on that sort of true crime spectrum of like. I don't remember who it was. It was, yeah, you probably would know if I gave you more ideas what it would be. But like, that's what I picture a lot of those kind of people to look like the Zodiac Killer would be or something. Instead of just that they had cast some sort of super, you know, this guy could be a James Bond type of person and he just happens to be the Riddler. And it's like, all right, that guy, you know, is a GQ model and it's Hollywood casting. Like, Paul Dano looks like Riddler. And I thought that was great casting, and I love when he flips out, for instance, in the interrogation scene. And not really interrogation, but like
he's talking to Batman
when he's just kind of like, no, this isn't how it was supposed to be. Like, no, like, because it's just kind of like a lot of people that have those sort of issues of just kind of like flipping out because it's not going the way that he planned, and that throws it all off. And oh my god, I don't know what to do now, kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
a lot of little touches like that worked really, really well. So even though, if I were to, I can't draw, but like if I could draw up like a perfect Riddler, it wouldn't have this garbage bag, mask kind of thing and stuff going on. But in this movie, it worked really, really well. And, as far as characters go, he was one of the absolute best.
And that's why I wanted to see more, but then I understand that it would. So, like, a lot of his traps made me think of, and his character made me think of Saw and Seven. And I like the gross ass part of me when they're looking at the mayor's head and they're like, oh, he was like beaten. I was like, I want to see. Like
I love the thumb drive joke. That was funny.
That too. I love that too. Like it was really cool. Like I love that Alfred was helping with the puzzles,
the cipher thing.
Yeah, I really liked it. And I like that we get to see that, okay, this guy, like, is really good with puzzles and he's really brilliant like that, but he also is, if you don't know that yet, he's completely imbalanced. And we get to see, like, his diaries. And it's just scribbles of a madman.
Mm-hmm.
And he, again, like, amazing job. I know that he didn't have, like, a fun time doing this. He said that he had a hard time sleeping while he was playing the role, which I'm guessing he probably like did a lot of research on the real life serial killers.
Yeah,
he was based upon, and like if he did do that, like yeah, and it's hard not to because
you surround yourself with that negativity, it's gonna weigh you down.
Yeah, like his costume is the Zodiac, even like the symbol with the question mark, that is like so evocative of what the Zodiac symbol was. And how can you like not like, and can I say also that the symbolism of him cleaning up Gotham at the end by literally bombing, washing, I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for him, and yeah,
that's his magnum opus is, and then I wash it all away. Then
yeah,
I forget the line, but he says something about like they'll remember me forever, because it's like in his mind he's the Riddler who did this big grand sweeping change, and that's the renewal thing and whatever. I thought it was good too. That was the Gotham Renewal Project, and Bruce is writing his little diary thing, and it's the Gotham Project or whatever, and it's like, all these diaries. Everybody's just journal entry, whatever, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we haven't talked about the Batman.
Yeah.
And we're not going to. Make sure you subscribe. And but before we get into that, let's talk about some of the other elements that we didn't get into. Let's hold that for the end. We talked music.
Mm-hmm.
There's that part where they do I think it's a 9 Inch Nails song. It was on the trailer. Nirvana? Is that what it was?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know my music.
Goes like so well with the vibes. Lots of rain, so that's very like Seattle and gritty,
grungy.
Yeah.
But like we already mentioned the bum 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 bum. So like to me, a little bit disappointing for Michael Giacchino. He's done a better job elsewhere.
I liked it.
But it goes with the vibe. Of course, the set decoration and all the production design and stuff, that's stuff that you could talk way more about because you know more about, obviously you're more special effects and everything, but still you have much more appreciation of any kind of art than I do. But I liked the vibe. It felt like Gotham. Mm-hmm. It didn't feel like it was too sanitized or a little too like over the top. Like, I mean, the Joel Schumacher ones are like, you got this giant skyscraper that Batman's driving up the side of, and it's like, all right, how much neon can you put in this city? But it's got that sort of, it's kind of Chicago-y, but it's not so blatantly Chicago like the Nolan ones where that was just a little too realistic. I like Gotham to have a little bit more of like a comic booky vibe, so I really liked how they did that.
Love the whole idea of the Batcave being at a subway station that was deactivated.
On the fence.
I
like caves.
Well, you could argue that that's a cave because it's kind of like a tunnel.
Not cave enough.
Well, I liked it. I thought that was really cool that there was the Wayne station. makes sense for Batman to be able to drive back and forth and whatever. But one of my favorite.
No, I'm laughing at a bad joke that I just thought of.
Oh, go ahead.
What is somebody that speaking like a toddler call that station when the train comes in? A Twain station. So that was a bad joke. Hit the like button if you want more of these. So as we were saying.
That's my daily life.
Isn't it great? See, you were asking before, like, how did you get me to marry you? Well, I know how I got you to marry me by jokes like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I lost my train of thought again. What was I saying?
The train of thought. Talk about the train station.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was really cool. I loved how they showed the city. I loved how gross it was. I absolutely loved the Wayne Mansion. I know we even joked that you said like, "Oh, you like love this, right?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do," but not for so much the reason you think. So, like, I really like that it's fashioned as a Gothic church, and obviously, like, Gothic goes with the whole Batman vibe, but it also felt like I'm trying to like not be like too like technical, but the way the walls are, if you pay attention, they're very detailed, and there's a lot of like nooks and crannies and a lot of like elevations and depression. So not only that creates more shadow, which is what we like for noir movies, but it also creates a feeling of just almost like a claustrophobia. And to me, that kind of made me feel like, oh, this is like Bruce's tomb in a way. So he's trapped there. He doesn't want to be Bruce Wayne. Like we're gonna get more into that, but like clearly that house for him is not a happy place.
It's a mausoleum.
It is a mausoleum. Yeah, exactly. So like it feels like almost as if that's a place of a place where it's all about like his parents' memory in a way. Like a very like church-like place where you can really be comfortable because it has kind of like that feeling of like opulence. Like Gothic churches are very like, you can't miss them. They're not simple buildings. They're very like
there's a weight to it.
There is a heaviness to it.
It's kind of like,
maybe that's what I'm looking for. It's a heavy thing for him.
You step inside a church and you know you're in a church because it's almost like the air feels different and you're constantly bombarded with that kind of stuff. So
and you feel like you have to whisper.
Yeah.
And you have to be extra quiet, even if you're alone.
Yeah.
Nobody else is there. Because it just feels, that like without getting too religious, like oppressive.
Yeah, that's a good way.
Like heavy and like oppressive. So I really like that. I thought that was like very effective, and that's not something we've seen. At least I haven't. Like normally the Wayne Mansion is kind of like in a secluded
just a mansion
outside Gotham. This one, it's like in a I don't know if it's like in the center of Gotham, but it's pretty much in there, and it has that feeling of like, which is what Bruce feels. So I thought that was really, really good, really effective. It's almost like his life is a constant funeral for his parents, so that's why he's like trapped there. And I loved the Riddler's apartment.
Yeah.
I thought that was
messy
like
as all hell and everything.
Messy. Like my first feeling when Batman entered the place and then the police, I was like, oh my god, they should be looking out for booby traps because I feel like somebody like him would have them. But like just, creative explosion everywhere and everything's just like not like a hoarding like mass. Like you can tell he has a system for how he like puts his things, but it's a lot. It's a lot of information. And obviously like the club was fun.
Yeah.
They did a good job with that, so
yeah, those kind of elements, like if any of them don't work, the movie has something wrong with it. Just the same as anything else. You know, if visual effects look like shit, a movie is going to look bad, which whatever visual effects they used in this one, I couldn't tell. So that's the benchmark of that. You know, it's obviously people aren't doing the actual stunts the same way, but you don't know which things are practical, which things are special effects. There's no, like in Black Panther when they have the two Killmonger Black Panther fighting it. It's like, you know, these like kind of Gumby-ish characters.
We know the contact lenses, at least.
Yeah.
Had CGI.
Yeah, so like even little bits like that were good because it's like, why wouldn't Bruce be wearing something like that where he could record things and look back in, and then they pull that off and that works.
We should talk about the Batmobile.
Don't like the Batmobile.
I didn't like the design. I like that it failed to start at that one part.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was really brilliant.
Yeah, because it's just a car.
It's just a car. He's still working on it.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that he failed. At that, like, I didn't care for the design either, but like, I like that he failed so much. I'm like, yes, and I can almost see like Batman being like,
God damn it! Yeah.
God damn it! Like, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I of course he's year 2, so they're doing the whole thing where like we don't want to do year 1 because everybody's known that whole story before, so we don't need to do show the pearls fall, and we need to, which to me as a Batman fan, I could watch it 100 times. It's totally fine, but I get it. Skip forward, move on. Everybody knows who Batman is. And, you know, but they want to make him to where he still has room to grow instead of making him Bat God of I've got every gadget that can do every single thing and I know exactly what I'm doing and I can fight everybody and I'll always win every fight. Because there's nothing interesting to that unless you've got like Bat God version against people like Brainiac. And then it becomes, okay, well, you level up with that kind of thing. He's fighting street level kind of people right now, so of course he's like that. Yeah. But I don't like the Batmobile just because it doesn't look like the Batmobile.
Right.
And there's tons of versions of the Batmobile, so some people are like...
But it makes sense, though.
Yeah.
For this.
And like there are versions that are just cars. Just like a Lincoln or something. And to me, I'm willing to like, though, I don't like them. So when you do that version of it, there's some portion of people out there that are like, oh, I love that they did that because it's like the old timey thing. And I'm like, no, I like my Batmobile being kind of more like what we got with the Ben Affleck one. Like it looks like it's a fucking tank, but it's not as bulky as the Tumbler because the Tumbler was just sort of like, I mean, they even showed you like somebody made a clay model and they were like, I don't know, there you go. It's a car. It's a rock. I'm like, I don't like that kind of thing as much. But for this, you know, okay, if they do another Batman movie, I don't want the same car. I want him to make it an actual Batmobile because by then it should be at least 2.5 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever they want to timetable it. Give me a real Batmobile. And same with the Batcar. The Batcycle. Like, make it a little bit more Batman-ish. I think it's fine. Just has a motorcycle, but you know, I'm glad he didn't have like the plane in this one because that would have been like, where the fuck's this plane coming from? You know, that would have been too much of a step in that direction. Or the Bat boat or the Bat, you know, whatever the fuck you want to call it or something. He doesn't need to have shark repellent. He's just, you know, but I don't like the suit having the things on the side that are the Court of Owls thing and them not mentioning the Court of Owls because they could have done something with that. If you want to do the whole thing with the Elite and the people in the shadows, that would have been cool.
You want too much, though.
But if there's like, if they decide to add something that's not a Batman thing to him, and it's like, because that the gauntlet, I think gauntlet would probably be the right word, but there's little like straps in it, a little, little pointy things. That's what Talon has. So they took a character of a villain thing and they put that into the Batman suit, and then they didn't reference the characters at all. So it's kind of like, I thought that maybe there would be some kind of an intentional thing there as like, that's something that kind of tied in with that. And maybe he got his inspiration from that and that ties into the Court of Owls and whatever. Because to me, I go, if you're not going to incorporate the Court of Owls and do the whole thing of that they're a part of the corruption, why is Batman got a Court of Owls thing?
Well, but you know? Like as somebody who didn't even know that detail, to me, I read it as like, oh, like he's still trying to figure out his suit. Because
Yeah.
that looked like it wasn't like completely done. Same thing when he's just like wearing regular clothes and changing to the bat suit in the club. Like he's still trying to figure out like the situation. So I liked like it didn't bother me, but I'm not a snob.
I would be in the way of, if you want to tell that, you do it a little bit different so it doesn't just look exactly like that. Like it would be weird to me if you had a character that had like, say, pick somebody who's like, if you had a bald scientist in a cold room and you're like, okay, that's Mr. Freeze. And then you're like, no, that's actually Achilles Milo. And then you're like, wait, what? Like, you know, that kind of thing. Like that sort of stuff always throws me off. So I would have liked a little, you know, different thing like that. But the rest of the Batsuit I liked. I liked that the little logo ended up being a little Batarang.
I like that too.
He didn't throw the Batarang. I would have liked him to throw it. I like my Batarangs. But, you know, he's using the grappling hook and, you know, he's doing a lot of those things. He has the thing where he goes to the top of the roof and he's just kind of like, oh, fuck, I got to do the parachute thing.
I love that.
Like, I didn't test this out yet and whatever, but I'm just going to be a puffy boy right now. I'm just going to,
I love that he's like figuring it out still.
Yeah.
Like, I felt that even at, I think it was like towards the end it was towards the end when he takes, I think it's kind of like an explosive and he puts in the fire extinguisher to get the smoke.
Mm-hmm.
There was like a short, and that could just be like Robert Pattinson like being like a really good actor where he just like grabs it and he looks at it in a way as if it's like, wait, I just got an idea. And like he does it as if like he probably never really done that before. And that was like
see
the
if
first
this
time.
works kind of thing.
So yeah, so I thought that was also like really, really cool. Like again, this is, you know, he's learning how to be Batman. He clearly already has these tools he's been working on, but he's still trying to like figure things out. And this is probably like one of the first like big, like crazy.
Seemingly,
villain?
it's at least his second, which
right, and we'll get into that. But like, so he's figuring it out.
Yeah,
he hasn't mastered the whole thing yet, which I thought that was cool and like really like vibes. Like I don't know what I'm doing. Like,
well, if we're talking vibes and tools that he's trying to figure out, he should get a pair of scissors and he should cut that fucking emo hair because that was stupid. I hate that haircut.
There was maybe like one or two things that I'm like, okay, I don't mind it.
There was a couple where it didn't seem, it was like kind of shorter. Is that the same sort of scenes you're talking about? Where it was like he was
the
from
one scene that like really
like,
bothered me was when he
view.
was arriving at the funeral and it looked like he had like a Karen bob.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah, he
like it looked weird as all hell. Like when it was kind of like
reshoots
messier,
for sure.
Yeah.
So you can tell that it's like the wig's not the same in some shots and stuff.
But like when it's kind of like a little messy, like when he was at the hospital where he was like disheveled and like
that was fine.
All right, that's kind of hot. All right, but
the more roundish thing with the, you know,
you're not my dad.
Yeah, my dad doesn't get me kind of thing. I mean, Bruce doesn't need to have a crew cut. Like, you know, it's not like that. Like, and there's been different haircuts for different Bruce things here and there. And some of them, I think, like, I don't really like the haircut that Christian Bale has in those movies. I think that's a little more of like a coif, word for it. It's a little like well coiffed.
Yeah.
I think. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's a little dome-ish. And like, this one's just from the very start I saw this emo thing and I was like, they're doing emo Batman. I don't like this.
I get what they're going with it. I just don't think it was
didn't translate
executed correctly. We're talking about Batman, so let's just like talk about Bruce Wayne. Like because it's gonna go to my point, I promise. So he doesn't like being Bruce Wayne. This guy's like really depressed. Mm-hmm. He's like
all the depression in the walls you were talking about. It's just seeping in with it.
Yeah, but that kind of like plays with it. So like he's 100 billion% not over the trauma. He's carrying guilt in his heart and soul since he was a little kid. He's not interested in being a Wayne. Yeah, he's like not interested in any of that. Like I really liked even in the beginning when Alfred's like, you do understand you have to keep this, like, you can't just, like, not do the Wayne part, right?
Mhm.
And he's like, you're not my dad. Like, he doesn't want to be Bruce Wayne because one, I don't think he knows who he is as Bruce Wayne. And I think that he's just, like, so depressed and traumatized that
There's always good quotes of things like, I haven't been a kid since I was 8.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, like, Bruce Wayne died that night. And, like, Andrea Letamendi, for anybody who follows the Gotham, or the Arkham Stories, I think, podcast, it's a psychologist or psychiatrist,
Mm-hmm.
I forget exactly the distinction, but she breaks down all the time, like, there's Bruce, and then there's billionaire Bruce Wayne, public figure,
Yeah.
and then there's Batman. And when Bruce in the comics always says things like, you know, well, I realized that the reason why I was under Scarecrow's mind control or whatever was, or Mad Hatter's mind control or whatever, was because I was calling myself Bruce, and I don't call myself Bruce. And then it's like, well, what do you call yourself? And it's like, oh, he fucking calls himself Batman, like, because he's not Bruce, he's Batman.
Yeah.
So emo-ish Bruce is not caring about his appearance to
He's
look
not.
like that.
So, like, he probably hasn't had a haircut in a while, which makes sense. Like, even when he's wearing a suit, the way that his body is, and
it's
the
not
suit doesn't, like, really super fit him, I'm like, that's actually, like, a really good touch, because, like, this is a man who he's just, like, hasn't been going out, like, he doesn't have a social life, he's not interested, he's depressed. Like, when you're depressed, everything just feels like you're climbing the Mount Everest. And he, on top of everything, he's mainly just, like, living at nighttime.
Yeah, he even says, like, I've become a nocturnal animal or something.
Right,
like, I get it.
Yeah, but, like, he's really depressed, and he's not into that, so he's probably not having a haircut. Like, you can tell that he's, like, really uncomfortable when he's at the funeral, which, like, yeah, like, you're gonna be uncomfortable in a funeral, obviously, but, like, that's not, you know, if you even compare to, like, Christian Bale when he's at that party.
And he's hamming up the act and being drunk Bruce Wayne for all the people.
Yeah,
and
like, this is not that Bruce at all. And I thought that it was really cool when they were showing in the beginning his diary that is supposed to be observations of Gotham. One of the things that the camera focuses in is that he says that he needs to push himself. So clearly, like, not only he still doesn't know how to be Batman, but he's just, like, in a really, like, unhappy place. So that's why I think the haircut was really bad. It's probably because he hasn't had one in a while.
But I would have been okay with them just being like, okay, but he still gets a haircut. You know, like, at the very least, he gets a better haircut, because I was just like, I'm not feeling it.
Oh my god, the funeral wig.
Yeah.
A whole dimension.
Yeah. So I hope that in the next one, if they do it, kind of the way that, like, you've seen the Da Vinci Club, right? Or Da Vinci Club, Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
That's a new movie
the Da Vinci Club.
Where all the, you know, all these puzzles lead to just this nightclub, and everybody's just like, you know, everybody named Sven. But Da Vinci Code, where Tom Hanks has that awful fucking haircut.
Yeah.
And that was one of the major takeaways people had of the movie. They're like, that's a good movie. Fucking awful haircut. Good movie, though. Great soundtrack, Hans Zimmer. And, like, you know, by the second movie, they're like, all right, let's fix that fucking hair. I hope that by this one, and you could work with it in the story, too, because he ends the movie saying, I have to be something different, and I have to, like, put on a better, not a better show, but, like, I have to be a better example of an icon that Gotham can look up to and whatever. So
he knows about his dad now, too, so
yeah, there's less of a burden on him in that kind of regard. So now he can get his fucking haircut, and he can, you know, not have to deal with that burden of the dangly bangs that are just, you know.
One can hope.
I hope so, yeah. But he's good. He's nowhere near my favorite Batman.
No, not mine, but I feel like he did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, when people first heard about the casting, and they were like, oh, stupid Twilight guy. I never seen Twilight, but
I never seen it either.
An actor can play more than one character, and I don't know why people don't.
And, like, I feel like people don't they don't put it themselves in Robert Pattinson's shoes, where he was like offered this massive deal as like, you know, just kind of like starting out his career. Like, who wouldn't take it?
Right.
For like a role that like doesn't really like ask much, because like for what I've seen, like it's not a very emotionally draining role. But like I did not see Twilight. I did see that Netflix movie. Oh man, it's The Devil Everywhere. Oh my god, it's The Devil All the Time. And
like Devil Wears Prada? Like,
no, The Devil All the Time. That's something that you need to watch.
That Tom Holland one?
Yeah, like he's brilliant in it.
That's the crossover with Spider-Man Batman.
And
what were we talking about?
I'm not gonna spoil for anyone, but that was like maybe like one of the first movies I saw with him, and I was like, oh, okay, like yeah, like I could be like, I don't know, Kate Blanchett, and in the beginning of my career, if somebody offered me to be in Twilight, I would. Like, who wouldn't? Mm-hmm. So I think that, you know, he gets a bad rap, especially from superhero fans, because that's probably, you know, what they know him from, and because the Twilight role is pretty bad, like he's supposed to sparkle.
Yeah, and there's gatekeeping in the community as well, because it's the whole like, you know, well, that's not the Batman that I want, and you know, I wanted to fan cast this person and that kind of thing, and I don't want that stupid Twilight guy to be Batman, and for Batman to sparkle in this and whatever. But he does. If he didn't play a sparkly vampire, and people just saw Robert Pattinson, he's a good-looking guy, and he's one of the many British people that have been superheroes in these years. It's just a regular thing. Probably because he's like more classically trained or something, but like, you know, I mean,
and if you haven't seen the Devil All the Time, and if you're okay with disturbing movies, because it is pretty disturbing, watch it. Like, you know, if you're not sure yet, if
then
you're gonna
watch The Devil Some of the Time, if you're not sure,
you're cute.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. So I feel like he did a really good job, and he, you know, he's fit, obviously, but he's more like on the scrawny side, which goes with the fact that he's depressed. Like, he only eats like one blueberry.
I like the little touch in that scene where they're eating and all that. Not really eating, but you know, like that little thing where he sees the sunlight shining in, and he just puts the sunglasses on.
I like that too. Because it's just
a little bit of a vampire-ish, because Batman's vampire-ish, of course. That's the whole thing. Is like, you know, Batman's
so relatable to me too.
Yeah, just like it's too bright. I don't like this natural.
Yeah, no, like yeah.
No, this much better with just dark stuff. You know, don't give me the bright thing where I have to put down the shades.
Yeah, you like fluorescent lights. I don't even like that. Like this right now, it's killing me. If it was up to me, I would just live in darkness with just like candlelight.
Too much work. But like he pulls it off, and you know, like I'm down to see him in another Batman movie. He's not the Batman for me, but he's not supposed to be the Batman yet. That's the whole point. No, I mean, like, he doesn't have all the elements of what I would want in Batman. Like, but none of them do. None of them have literally everything, because it's a perfection thing.
Yeah, you're impossible to please.
Nobody could ever be perfect in any kind of scenario, so it's impossible to do that. So for me, it's like, okay, well, at the very least, cut that fucking hair, and then you get some more points for the future with that. But I think that he pulled that off well. The voice is always a thing with Batman. I mean, he's basically just has his voice.
He doesn't change the voice, which I think was appropriate too.
I don't like the growl. Like when Christian Bale is just, you know, it was like,
no, I don't like that either. But he's trying to distance Bruce from Batman, so that's why he's changing voice. If in this case Bruce doesn't leave his house, nobody has heard his voice in a long time, so it's fine for him to just like talk like himself.
I like the synthesizer a little bit more, like the Ben Affleck version of like that he just masks it, because you would want to mask their voice and sound a little bit more threatening.
But that's like older, more experienced.
It could be that like maybe he does
that. Who just figured that out? Yeah,
right like down the line. This guy's the one that he opens up his parachute and he busts his ass, and then it's
and
like
he. I love that too. Okay, this is another point that I really want to bring up, which is the whole like he's not the Batman yet. I love that when he falls, he gets hurt. When he like misjudges like a movement and he like tumbles down, it's like when he
can't quite get up.
Yeah, like scenes, this is like so good because like like he's human. He's still trying to figure it out, and like that's always something that I don't particularly enjoy in a lot of not only superhero movies but like action movies, which whenever you have the hero clearly getting hurt, they just kind of like get up and like in this one like Batman gets seriously hurt that he has to give himself an adrenaline shot. Like I love that because like like he's not superhuman. Superman. He's not. He's just a guy in a suit, and like I love that. I love that he has these moments of like being scared to jump out of the building and falling and misjudging and like busting his ass and being like and when he gets like I think it's when he's fighting with Selina. At the first time, he like grunts or something, or he's fighting. I forget like in which fight, but like I love those moments because to me, that makes it more real, and that makes me feel closer to what he's going through. He's just trying to figure shit out, like all of us.
So he does a good job like that, and it seems like they're heading in a direction of having some more movies down the line. It's not necessarily guaranteed, but if the movie does really well, it's already critically gotten its support. So I'm assuming that, that this fun police isn't coming out there to say no. It's not got the continuity issue of, we got to figure out, how we're going to tie this in with Aquaman and do all this kind of stuff. But that's going to be a whole fucking mess with the Flash. Which that preview, I thought it was funny. It was like, let's show Flash with multiple Flashes. And they're like, we could do Spider-Man 2. You guys like that? There's more than one Flash. How about that? You want to see the movie? I
missed that. I was trying to open my Bunch of Crunch box.
Bunch of Crunch and popcorn. That's the best combination.
He got Bunch of Crunch all over my pants. I had like melted chocolate all over my ass. Looked like I pooped myself. It was awful. I was so mad.
Don't lie to them and say you didn't poop. So, no, I'm just kidding.
I would on it if I had done that. I'm like, I pooped watching Batman.
That's the positive review of like Rotten Tomatoes or something. It's like, this movie was so good that I shit myself or something. Kind
of like how my Road to Perdition review is like, it's great for naps, and this one's like great for a poop.
But since they are seemingly heading in the direction of doing at least one more, they had to, of course, tease something. And, the post-credit scene of just, it's
not a post-credit scene.
No, but the post-credit scene is just like a little goodbye and then like whatever kind of thing with the Riddler. But before that, you get a scene that would function normally as the post-credit scene, which is the Riddler's in prison and he's upset about everything not going the way he was. And there's a guy next to him in another cell that you can't really see. And this is Barry Keoghan, who they had marketed as he's playing Stanley Merkel from the comics, who's just a cop. And he's a cop with a name, and we know him, and it's like, okay, he's playing Stanley Merkel. Well, they're giving him a bigger enough role. Whatever. There's officer this and officer that, and you could have, the two different ones become Spectre, and you've got this guy and whatever. So Stanley Merkel, okay, Arnold Flass, throw out any names. Kind of plays into that thing of like, if you're going to have a character, you might as well be a character from the comics and stuff. But he is not Stanley Merkel. Instead, he is seemingly scarred. It's obscured where you can't really tell. He's got this sort of, not spiked up hair, but like his hair is even more up than like mine is. And they're giving you just enough visual clues. And of course, the way that his voice is and the fact that he's laughing.
And he talks about being a clown.
Yeah, they're going to make you a clown or something. And there's worse things to be than a clown or something. And very clearly, he's the Joker. Or they're just going in a direction of like, how fucking ridiculous is it that this character is not the Joker when it's so obvious, whatever. And then you hear this person.
And then this guy behind me is like, oh, that's Two-Face.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah.
This is the Wendy's.
Same as like what I said earlier. If you get a bald guy who's wearing like a mechanical suit and he's shooting out ice beam, and somebody just goes like, "Oh, look at Kite Man!" Like, it's kind of
what made me laugh was that this was right after the
clown
line,
right?
Which, like, if you hadn't guessed that that's the Joker, obviously by the time that he laughs, like, you should be like, oh yeah, yes. But this was right after the clown, which is like seals the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy's like, "This Two-Face."
Yeah.
And he's like telling his girlfriend that, I guess, to impress her. Like, oh.
Hopefully she's not just kind of like, "Oh, really? Wow."
I didn't hear anything from her, or his friend, I don't know. But he was telling somebody, but he was like being so sure of it.
Yeah.
And then after the review, I feel like, I don't know if he was still believing that was Two-Face or not, but I didn't hear anything else. I'm like, are you quiet because you're embarrassed, or you're quiet because of like, I was right?
Right, yeah. See, the Two-Face, yeah, he's got two faces. Like, I wonder if it was the same guy that like 2 times in the movie just went like, "Meh," or something, like,
No, the guy with the deeper voice, no, that wasn't him, no.
Some guy found like a couple moments funny that like nobody else really laughed at, and he was just like, "Meh," or something. Like, but so they're teasing the idea that there's Joker and that he already captured Joker, which is kind of weird that they would go in that direction and not tell the Joker thing and cast somebody that's big enough that you wouldn't cast them to just have, you can't even see him even more than like, like,
a little bit
like
of his
this
nose.
much kind of is like still too much more than what you could really even see. So to cast somebody like that already without having a second movie in the works, and knowing that you're going with Joker, and knowing that this is the guy you want for the part, because you could write this movie, The Batman 2, or whatever it might be, and you could be writing it halfway through and go, this isn't the type of Joker that I want to do in this movie. And then you have to change it all up. And, there's crazier things that have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Don Cheadle pops up and he's like, yeah, I'm not Terrence Howard, let's move on, kind of thing. But, like, the Joker, of course, is the type of character that you want to tease if you're going to tease anything like that. And when we were walking around Times Square a couple weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, there was one where we saw Aladdin.
Yeah.
I overheard somebody, they were looking up at the posters that were up in there, and somebody literally said, any Batman movie that doesn't have the Joker doesn't have my support. And of course it's like, well, is that the only thing that's good? Batman, Bruce Wayne's my favorite character in anything, period. Not even my favorite superhero character, just my favorite fictional character of all time. And Joker is my favorite villain of all time. But I was really excited to see that it was a Riddler movie, because Riddler's awesome. Yeah. And if somebody were to do a movie that was all about, I don't know, they wouldn't do a movie about like some of these super lesser, nobody's going to make the Birthday Boy movie. But like, if you could do a movie that would be dedicated to like a Clayface, I'd be like, oh, okay, sounds kind of cool. I don't know how they're going to do it, but cool. I'm down for it. But everybody wants the Joker, because the Joker is the fucking man. And if you have a Superman story and you don't eventually have Lex Luthor, what are you doing? If you've got, the Spider-Man stuff and you don't eventually have Green Goblin or Venom or somebody like the main people, eventually people are going to be wondering why do we not have that? So I don't know, Barry Keoghan as Joker.
We were proven wrong, though.
Heath Ledger proved me wrong for that. Yeah, the first thing I thought was the fucking guy from A Knight's Tale is going to be the Joker. This is ridiculous. And then the first time they showed the test footage or whatever, I was just like, this, okay, Nolan's ruining the Joker here, and then it ended up being great. So
Tom Cruise for Lestat in Review of the Vampire, like, not even, and Rice, the author, wanted him to play because her idea of him was like, oh, that guy from Legend, Pretty Boy. Like, I feel like sometimes when there's like these expectations, especially for a well-known, loved character, I feel like that's when a good actor really, and I say good actor because Jared Leto sucked.
Jared Leto was so close to what could have been good, and then they said, but how about, and then they just fucked it all up.
But I also feel like that's Jared Leto, though. I also feel like with him, there's always a sense of like egomania that just like messes up his roles. So I am curious, and I feel like we might be proven wrong, and I'm glad that we didn't go with a Joker movie for this.
Yeah.
For this, because I feel like when you go with like the enemy's gonna be the Joker, I feel like if you're, especially if you're almost going from like a beginner story for Batman, like that would take away a lot from that story, from Batman becoming Batman, and I feel like you would just like take away from all the other characters too. I feel like it's a smart choice to just like set that up. And
I'm curious how they're going to go about doing it, though, because if he's already made him Joker, or Joker's already become Joker and Batman's not responsible, but he's been locked up.
Well, maybe they'll do like, oh, maybe it wasn't Batman that locked him up or something. I don't know.
But that's interesting enough to be
see.
like, we've never seen them do that kind of direction before. So if we get the Batman 2 and we get Joker is the main villain, and maybe they incorporate Penguin again. Maybe they give Catwoman back. Maybe they do whatever.
I hope so. Because they kind of ended in a way where it's like, well, like Gotham, now it's a no man's land. This like the biggest
Good
mafia
reference.
boys.
No man's land. Though that was an earthquake, but still.
They say like, oh, like this, Falcone was like the big puppeteer, and he's been taken out. So now all these like other people that were lesser than, and we know that Penguin is this. It's kind of like in a weird way his beginner story too, because he's not like the top mafia boss, and that allows him to even be a little bit more comical. But you can tell, and he gets like intimidated by Batman right away. Like he's not super powerful yet, and the last shot we see of him is him kind of like looking at Gotham, and there's just like this mix of like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm kind of overwhelmed and intimidated, but there's a slight, like, this might be my time. Which, again, brilliant acting, like the very, like, subtleties of, conveying all these different emotions. So I feel like it would make sense if he comes back, and then he's like, oh, like, now
in the power vacuum.
Yeah. Like,
people, I mean, kind of like what they did with the Nolan things.
Yeah.
Where it's like you take down Falcone, somebody like the Joker can come along and just fuck shit up, because that's what Joker's best at. He's the guy that throws a baby at you so that you catch it and then he shoots you. Like that's the type of Joker of, not the one that's just kind of like, I've got a boner for you, which is a thing from the comics. It's not just a thing me saying. That used to be how they would say, I got a joke, was I got a big boner for you, Batman. And it's like, then they take it in a direction of that.
He probably does have, though.
There's
Batman
plenty
all
of
the time.
that whole sexual relationship and, the tunnel of love and all that stuff.
If they only just kiss. Maybe that's all sexual tension. They should just, like,
he should just
take one for the homies.
Pull out a bat condom and,
10 out of 10 would watch. On repeat.
I'm thinking more so Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn.
10 out of 10 would watch that too.
Yeah.
On repeat.
Throwing Catwoman. Whatever.
On repeat.
But it's, the movie succeeds. It's a hit. If you had to say biggest hit, biggest miss.
Biggest miss, the haircut.
I think I'd probably go biggest miss is either the haircut or I do feel underwhelmed with the score.
No, I'm gonna say haircut, but I also feel like it's time that we have an R-rated Batman movie. And there's no reason why he's the perfect superhero for this. He's the perfect superhero for this.
Maybe with Joker, they might be able to, they can't get to the point where they can't because he's just killing people left and right and stuff,
Right, like, I was really hoping that this was going to be it, and I feel like had this been that movie, I feel like they could have gone a little bit more sinister and darker with certain themes. I feel like, clearly, like, Annika was a prostitute, and that was kind of just, like, glanced over, and the fact that she's a foreigner and somebody was keeping her passport, like, that's that's intense, and that was just kind of like glossed over. And here's the Riddler, and he's fashioned, you know, based on serial killers from like real life. Like they could have really like made this into like a very charged, intense Batman movie, and I feel like that would even like make it so much more powerful. Obviously, like we don't need just violence for the sake of violence or anything, but I feel like this would be a really good movie based on the story to be free of the PG-13 rating. So I wish they could have had more freedom.
Yeah,
with
it
that.
wouldn't have been the type of thing where they needed to just be rated R by, instead of having see-through top for Selina, that she just actually
No.
becomes topless and then becomes
You-
rated R. It wouldn't change the movie. It would just
you don't need anything, you know, just for the
gratuitous.
sake of it. Yeah, you really don't, but I feel like this movie was kind of like tiptoeing on like subjects that would make sense to be explored in Gotham. And like it's not a must, but that was like a miss for me. I was
Mhm.
really hopeful for that. Like even like they glossed over the fact that Martha Wayne was a patient
in
in the
Arkham.
Arkham Asylum. Like that was like ooh to me. Like that's pretty intense. And that again, that was just like a doop. So like, you know, and again, like that also made me think that that's kind of brilliant because
He gets that from her. So that
not
kind of
completely,
explains that,
but it's like nature and nurture,
yeah.
which is a thing. So I thought that was really cool, but I feel like if they had like just pushed it a little bit, it would be awesome. And biggest hit for me, God, that's gonna be a toss up between the acting, and the mood, the vibes of it, because I feel like where the mood and the vibes were very like dark and noir, and like I love it. I love give me a movie at night that rains a lot and it's like city that's like dirty and neon lights. That's perfect for me. And then you have like these really talented actors giving these performances that are multi-layered, and that's perfect.
Biggest hit, maybe Selina. Maybe just Selina.
Mhm.
Maybe Penguin. I don't know. I'm leaning more towards Selina, but I think it's a movie that maybe on a rewatch that might sway even more one way or another. I might pick up on some couple little things that I didn't get or something. But
Yeah.
I also feel like this is a movie that doesn't lend itself to rewatches a whole lot, because it is a longer movie and it is kind of a, you got to be in the mood for it. You can't just like throw it on
Yeah,
sort of
that's
thing.
true.
So I don't know how many times that I like, the amount of times that I saw Tim Burton's Batman as a kid was just, you know, you do that and Batman Returns over and over again and whatever. But those are more comical, fun kind of movies. This is dark and dour and heavier and, you know, that kind of way. So I think this is going to be one that I just pop on at any moment. But thumbs up. Good movie. And
Yes.
it's, I don't know how it's going to rank at the end of the year for me as far as like, you know, I don't think that this is a movie that we can do a campaign of like, this should be nominated for Best Picture.
It might get a nomination for
some stuff.
special effects,
Yeah,
like makeup.
makeup.
Like that was really, really good. That was really, really impressive.
I could see that being the case. I could see there being things for like production design and, you know, different things like that. And of course, the Oscars this year are all going to be a mess.
Like
it
I
seems.
hope that at least maybe Colin Farrell gets like a nod,
If anybody were to stand out, it would be him.
because
So.
he really like
It's not Colin
he-
Farrell. Like, you know.
it really isn't. And I even told Tony like, oh, can we just rewatch The Sopranos, because I'm like such in a mood now. The way like he just brought that up is so good.
Yeah. So overall, even though I am not as excited about it as I was hoping to be, and there's been plenty of other movies and, you know, even the past, you know, few years or so that I've walked out feeling more pumped about, including, and I know it's going to sound blasphemous, Batman v Superman. The ultimate cut of that, I think, is a superior movie to this. But as a standalone and for a new start of another Batman series and all that, like, yeah, give me more. Like, Batman's fucking great. You know? So, of course, let us know what you have to say. Drop your comments below. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. How was the video? This video, you know, do you like the idea of us doing this a little bit more often? Try to do that. Of course, stay tuned for any things that we have in the pipeline that we do with that. And, you know, if you notice like a little bit of like the audio not matching up 100%, that's me with OBS, you know, so if we're like a millisecond off, I'm still trying to figure that out. But, you know, we'll work out the kinks and stuff. If you want to make sure we work out the kinks, donate to the Patreon, because the more money that we have, the more I can get somebody to do this stuff. Then I don't have to figure it out and do the wrong thing 200 times until I sort it out. But whatever the case may be, you know, shoot us a message, or, you know, you follow us on the social medias that we have down there. Check out what's going on. If you like this painting behind you, and,
it's not done yet.
This side, there you go.
This is just like
it's in the works.
It's just to cover our dining table that is my current workstation, and it's full of hard drives and 2 laptops, and it's ugly. So,
But if you did like that, then by all means, creepy_Caroline, commission something. Just saying, CZO Arts, and of course,
just give me a follow for.
We're gonna say, just give me money. I was gonna say, okay, well, just bypass the thing. Just don't even have me do the work. Just give me the money.
Yeah. Or just give me a follow. Let's become Instagram friends. Like, yeah. I'm always on Instagram.
And I'm never on there unless she tags me on something. I'll try to tweet more often here and there, mostly me complaining about the pro wrestling stuff. So go to Smart Out Moment if you want to find out more information on that. And there's plenty of stuff that I want to do on Fanboys that I just never get the time to do, because it's just the way that, you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles. So hopefully it's a chocolate chip one. And, you know, if you do want to see anything, there's that Pick Your Poison tier. Plenty more. I mean, I could literally do an entire thing just about Batman. If it was just like, okay, every article and every podcast is a different thing about Batman. But then there's Spider-Man, there's Star Wars, there's X-Men, there's video games. And I said to Caroline when we were watching the previews, I was like, it's so weird to say that the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 movie is one of the ones I'm more excited to see, because the first one was pretty good. So, you know, I play plenty of Pokemon, so, you know, plenty of Pokemon stuff in the future too. Fanboys Anonymous is fun, and the more fun stuff we can do, the better. So show your support, hit the like button, share this with anybody you think might be interested in checking it out, spread the word. And then that makes you an awesome person. You want to win some awesome points, right? You get 10 if you do that. 10 awesome points can translate to a lot. So do that, and adios for now. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and we will see you next time, everybody. But for now, it's time for us to geek out.